Chapter 209. Ghost Lamp Town Upper Rooftop. Inoki looked at the box in front of him and the man who was delivering chakra to the box and asked, "Is this okay?" "Yes, the way to open the box of bliss is to let it absorb enough chakra." Wu gave a positive answer and said seriously, "Suchikage-sama, please put your right hand on my neck or press it on my head, this is too unprofessional." "Sorry, please continue." Inoki, who was not professional enough, had to fly in the air and barely put his hand on Wu's shoulder. Seeing this, Kitsuchi said, "Father, let me do it." "Well, it's hard for my old bones to fly all the time." Inoki landed on the ground. "But you have to pay attention to your acting and remember to show flaws." "Yes." Wu continued. Kusanagi originally took the task of building Ghost Lamp Town to let the box of bliss absorb the prisoner's chakra. Unfortunately, the prisoner's chakra is far from enough to open the seal. Later, after our analysis, only the Jinchuriki's chakra can meet the need, which is what Hansama is doing now. To be able to absorb such a large amount of chakra, it seems that the power of the box of bliss can't be underestimated. Hikari rubbed his chin. Maybe it can really be the power to defeat Woodleaf. Don't relax your vigilance. Inoki warned. Sharp weapons may hurt you. Before dealing with Shimizu Garashi, don't think too much. At the same time, at the entrance of the lower level, Garashi was half squatting with his right hand pressed on the ground. Danzo lowered his voice and asked, "How is it? Has Inoki and the others arrived?" Garashi pointed in a direction. "They're up there, they seem to be trying to break the seal." As he spoke, Shushi felt a little confused. "I didn't sense Black Zetsu's chakra the night before yesterday. It can be explained that he went to sleep, but why didn't I sense his existence today? Could it be that I guessed wrong? Black Zetsu wasn't involved this time. Was it purely Rock Crypsis's own operation?" Thinking of this, Garashi secretly shook his head. "No, there is another possibility. Black Zetsu is pretending to be someone or possessing someone. As the highest priority transformation technique, it's not surprising that I can't sense it. But with Black Zetsu's caution, there's no reason for him to leave such an opening for himself. Am I wrong? What? Daring to rob this old man's things?" Danzo, who already regarded this power as his own, looked at the direction Garashi pointed at and couldn't wait to make a hand seal. Before the fight, let this old man give them a gift. Raza had a strange look in his eyes. Why did this old man suddenly become so proactive? Wind escape, vacuum jade. The violent wind blades cut through the air, easily collapsing the thick roof above. "Be careful, they're coming. Grab the box of bliss. Don't let it fall." Hearing the movement from above, Danzo urged, "Hurry up before they open the seal." Everyone looked at him speechlessly. "Then why don't you go?" Danzo frowned without any self-awareness. "Why are you looking at me? Why don't you start?" Although his attitude is very positive, he certainly can't be in the front. If they really fight, he'll have to hide in the back. Garashi shook his head helplessly. "Follow me." After saying that, Shushi stepped on the beam and walked straight up. Then he jumped onto the roof through the big hole in the roof. As soon as he appeared, the Rock Crypsis's ninjutsu flew towards Garashi. However, this kind of reaction was naturally expected by Garashi. After he attracted the enemy's attack, he used Flying Thunder God to retract back to the hole, and before the second wave of Rock Crypsis arrived, he jumped out with everyone. Although there were a few people who deliberately avoided the attacks, such scattered power was no longer a threat to the group. Landing on the ground, Garashi's eyes first stayed on Wu for a moment, then he looked away without leaving a trace. Noticing Garashi's small movement, Inoki was secretly happy, but he still said in a mocking tone, "You little rats have a really good nose, you followed me so quickly." Garashi said in a low voice, "Inoki-san, what you're doing now is too dangerous, stop as soon as possible." Inoki laughed. "Are all Woodleaf's ninjas as naive as you? You're persuading me to stop at this time." Danzo urged, "There's nothing to say to this old man, hurry up and start the fight." Garashi raised his right hand and looked calmly in front of him. "At least let the Kusanagi go first, there's no need to involve innocent people in the matter between us." Inoki looked unhappy. "Do I need you to teach me how to do things?" With that, he looked at Wu again. Before confirming whether this kid told this old man the way to open the seal is correct or not, he should stay here peacefully. Then there's nothing to say. Garashi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he pressed his hands on the ground, exuding cold frost quickly spread toward the Rock Crypsis. Rashi, who has recovered from most of his injuries, opened his mouth and spat out a wall of lava to block the spreading ice. The ice and fire collided and instantly evaporated into a scorching white mist. The fight between the two was like a signal for the start of a war, and soon it led to a battle between their hands. You should have done this a long time ago. Danzo snorted and then decisively stepped back. This old man is a wind-release ninja, I'll cover you. Raza's mouth twitched and he inexplicably felt that Chio was cute. However, this time he didn't intend to continue being a loser. After so long in the Sand Crypsis, it's time to let the ninja world see the power of his Kazekage. Magnet Release, Burial of Gold Dust. This move exuded the aura of a nouveau riche, and it really made the rock Crypsis feel a heavy pressure. I didn't expect this guy to be so strong. Damn, I thought he only knew how to mine. Because of the gap in quality between the two sides, even if the rock Crypsis had the advantage in numbers, they were still suppressed. Rashi hasn't fully recovered, Han needs to transport chakra, and Kitsuchi has to fight while holding Wu-Wei hostage. Inoki frowned. The current situation is too unfavorable for us, we can only rely on my air superiority to distract them, and there's no way for them to use their full strength. Inoki thought so, but he found that something was wrong with the battlefield below. Rashi and Shimizu Garashi were fighting in a stalemate. Even Rashi in his heyday wasn't Shimizu Garashi's opponent, how can they fight back and forth? Could it be that he hasn't recovered yet? It must be, fighting with enemies like Hanzo and Rashi in succession must be a big loss for him. Thinking of this, Inoki's eyes became brighter. Maybe this time it's possible to kill him. Chapter 210. At the same time, Garashi was also depressed. How can these rock Crypsis ninjas be defeated? He also wanted to take the opportunity to observe the battle and find Black Zetsu who may be hiding in the crowd. You are so weak I can't find anyone. Please be more tenacious. Garashi lamented in his heart, but he still didn't give up and glanced at the crowd. You bastard, don't think that you can look down on me just because you defeated me once. Seeing Garashi dared to be distracted while fighting with him, Rashi was furious. Of course not. But my task is to prevent you from opening the seal and you are too strong, I have to try to find a breakthrough from others. Garashi said very honestly. So that's how it is? Aha, you bastard are quite discerning. Rashi laughed, but I won't let you go. Then it's not up to you. Shushi pulled out a shuriken from his toolkit and threw it around like a heavenly maiden scattering flowers. Seeing this, Rashi hurriedly shouted, be careful of these shurikens, use wind release to bounce them off or use fire release to burn them. However, this is not something that can be done easily. Especially when these rock shinobis are fighting with other shinobis, it's hard for them to be distracted. The shurikens are like the coordinates of the Grim Reaper, with a flash of light, the rock Crypsis ninjas were either injured or killed. Be careful, don't let him get close. Damn it. This bastard's strength is too strong. Inoki, who was flying in the sky, felt his heart bleed. Damn it, this place is too small. In fact, the rooftop of Ghost Lantern City is not small, but it depends on who it is compared to. It is undoubtedly enough for hundreds of people, but it is not enough for hundreds of elite ninjas. If it was the last battlefield, they could easily retreat to a place where there are no shurikens, or Rashi could use a large-scale lava release to burn the shurikens. But now the shurikens are too dense, there is no way to retreat, and a large-scale ninjutsu can easily hurt teammates. Even Inoki's dust release warning had no effect on Garashi, who was highly mobile. This caused Garashi to become the Grim Reaper in everyone's eyes. The way ordinary people fight is so troublesome. They even need to form seals. Black Zetsu muttered to himself. In order to avoid being seen by others, he has been using taijutsu or hand seals as little as possible to fight. Fortunately, most people chose to use low-level ninjutsu in a chaotic battle, so no one noticed anything wrong with him. Hurry up and kill me. Come and grant me death. Although he was complaining in his heart, Black Zetsu did not take the initiative to approach Garashi. The more he did, the more mistakes he made. In any case, with Magic Leech's strength, all he had to do was let nature take its course and kill him. As he thought of this, a cold light flashed. Black Zetsu immediately gathered his distracting thoughts, and according to the character of Magic Leech, he perfectly interpreted his anger mixed with a trace of despair. No. But at the last moment, a gust of wind blew, and his body was blown to the side, perfectly avoiding Garashi's assassination. Black Zetsu, Sigma degree, Hikari gave him a thumbs up. You're welcome. Although he was depressed, Black Zetsu adjusted his mood as fast as possible. You have to be careful, he may target you next. At this time, Garashi glanced at Magic Leech with a surprised look. At that moment, The negative emotions he absorbed from him with the zero-tail ring were not right. When he was assassinated he was calm, but when he was saved he was angry for a moment. It can't be that this guy's reaction arc is too long, right? However, there was no time for him to continue to think. As if he saw the disadvantage of rock crypsis, Han turned the power of chakra to the maximum. With a loud noise, the box of bliss that was blocked by the rock crypsis suddenly spun, emitting a terrifying aura. The purple-black chakra spiraled into the sky, and the four faces on the four sides of the box emitted a red light from their eyes. Born with enlightenment, moved with enlightenment, and ended with enlightenment. A whisper sounded in everyone's heart, as if it was evoking their wishes. Is it really going to open? I heard that you can make wishes with this thing. Do you want to try? I think it's okay, it doesn't cost anything to try. Seeing the village chief nodding at him, Han quickly made a wish. Please help me kill Shimizu Garashi. Hearing Han's wish, everyone looked at Garashi with surprise and worry and so on. The next moment, the face representing happiness opened its mouth wide, and from the dark door, a huge monster with wings on its back, arms drooping to the ground and four fangs came out. Contractor, as you wish. The huge monster laughed and flew into the sky, then swooped down at Garashi. Han didn't even say how did it know who Shimizu Garashi is. This monster seems to have some tricks up its sleeve. Garashi stood quietly in place, the Otama Rasengan in his right hand quickly formed. Stupid mortal, attacks are useless against me, puff. Before he finished, Goku's huge body was sent flying. Seeing this, everyone slowly raised a question mark in their heart. The power to destroy the world, is this it? Goku, who was about to go through the procedure, was stunned. It wasn't that his acting skills were bad, but this kind of strength was too weak to be shocked. Was it because the monster was too weak? Goku stood up, his voice was full of disbelief. How is this possible? Why can't I read your attack? Whether it was fear or killing intent, as long as it was in the heart, it could read it. But what's the matter with this guy? Its ability seemed to have completely lost its effect, and it couldn't read anything. Garashi's eyes were calm. Was it that difficult to control his emotions? Seeing Garashi not speaking, Goku angrily rushed up, but was sent flying again and again. Everyone couldn't bear to look at it. Was this monster born to be beaten? Needless to say, its self-healing ability was quite strong. After being beaten down by Garashi so many times, it could still stand up. Seeing that he spent so much chakra to summon such a big waste, Han couldn't accept it. Bastard, hurry up and fulfill my wish. Goku angrily said, it's all because the quality of your chakra is too poor that I can't beat him. Of course, if you want to fulfill your wish, give me all your chakra first. With that, Goku slapped at Han. Humph! You don't dare to attack Shimizu Garashi, but you want to vent your anger on me? Han was very calm. His strength was similar to Old Purple's and Old Purple's strength was similar to Shimizu Garashi's. Since this monster was defeated by Shimizu Garashi in one move, didn't that mean that he could also kill this monster in one move? Boiling release. Unparalleled monster strength. Han jumped up and attacked Goku's face, but his attack was easily dodged by Goku. How is this possible? Han asked in disbelief. This monster was obviously very clumsy when it dodged Shimizu Garashi's attack. However, he didn't have time to be confused. The next moment, Goku's sharp claws landed on his body, slamming him into the ground. In the huge hole in the ground, Han looked at the sky doubtfully. This bastard was defeated by Shimizu Garashi in one move. Why did it become so fierce when it was his turn? Was it really a yes man to the enemy, but a heavy blow to its own people? Chapter 211. Seeing the Gobi Jinchuriki being slapped into the ground, everyone who was disappointed by the monster's strength was shocked. How is this possible? Han-sama is not this monster's opponent? But Shimizu Garashi dealt with it easily. Are you kidding me? Is Shimizu Garashi's true strength so much stronger than Han-sama? They saw Satoshi being easily defeated by Garashi, and they thought it was because the monster's strength was too weak, but now it seems that the monster's strength is terrible, and it was defeated because Garashi is too strong. Satoshi, who regained some confidence, was very excited. Yes, it's this feeling of controlling everything. Whoosh! Just as Satoshi was excited, a white light flashed. Boom! The light was dazzling, the sound was like thunder, and the wind was surging, forcing everyone to stand still. A mere monster dares to. Anoki's pupils suddenly shrank as he spoke. He saw the monster fly out of the dust and scathe. It circled around him viciously, and then pounced on him with a strange smile. Does this monster have eyes on its back? Anoki couldn't accept it, and after dodging the attack he shot out a few more dust release. However, the monster not only perfectly avoided all the attacks, but also jumped in circles with its hands raised high as if dancing. This provocative posture almost made Anoki's nose crooked. At this time, Rashi seized the opportunity to shoot a magma flame, and Han also came out of his seclusion and rushed towards the monster like a rocket. Everyone watched this scene nervously. Being attacked by a Kage and 2 Jinchuriki, this monster should be dead, right? However, they were doomed to be disappointed. The monster once again dodged the attack and even slapped Han into the ground again with ease. Flying in the sky, Satoshi laughed wildly. It's useless, it's useless, it's useless. Even Garashi couldn't help but marvel. It's worthy of being an enemy that made Xian Ming and Hachibi Jinchuriki feel troubled. If it can't control its emotions, conventional attacks won't work at all. This time, everyone couldn't calm down. It's hard to say whether this monster's power can destroy the world, but with its dodging ability and huge size, it's completely possible to destroy a ninja village. How did he do it before? Is it luck? Anoki looked at Garashi solemnly and whispered. This monster's strength is very powerful, but... Danzo's face was gloomy. What's the use if he can't beat that kid? Satoshi, who was overflowing with confidence, finally looked at Garashi again. I didn't find the feeling before, this time I'll tear you to pieces little by little. Although it was full of confidence, it did not forget to use all kinds of insulting words and actions to provoke Rince Stone. Just like how it provoked Anoki before, as long as the other party had emotional fluctuations, it would be invincible. Satoshi Shursui, and rose. Then, Mustache grabbed one of its fingers and repeatedly slammed it on the ground on both sides, giving it a violent beating. The huge body and Garashi's small body made a shocking contrast, like an ant grabbing an elephant and hitting it, giving everyone a strong visual impact. Amazing, Garashi is really amazing. This monster isn't playing us, is it? Why doesn't it know how to hide when it comes to Shimizu Garashi? In these shocking words, Garashi's hands that were holding Satoshi's finger loosened. Driven by inertia, Satoshi's body flew upside down like a cannonball, smashing into Kitsuchi, who was about to be shocked. As the son of the third Tsuchikage, although Kitsuchi's performance on the battlefield is not as good as A's, he can't be underestimated. Earth Release, Rock Fist. Kitsuchi's fist covered with thick rocks greeted Satoshi, but even in this case, Satoshi flapped his wings hard and adjusted his direction in midair to avoid the attack. Not only that, but his right foot also kicked to the side, kicking Kitsuchi, who had no time to dodge. In this split second, Garashi caught up with Kitsuchi and took the opportunity to save Wuwei, who was held hostage by him. Almost at the moment when his right hand touched Wuwei's shoulder, Garashi used a secret technique similar to the heart communication technique to open an encrypted communication with Wuwei. Putting aside prejudice among these rock Crypsis ninjas, is there anyone who makes you feel disharmony? Their tone, attitude, and behavior have changed a lot from before? Although he didn't know why Garashi suddenly asked this, Wuwei still recalled in his mind at the fastest speed, and then silently said in his heart, "If I have to say one person, then it's Magic Leech. Now that I think about it, it's a bit strange. He is usually the most active, but these days he seems to have a kind of mysterious feeling." Although he explained that his throat is uncomfortable, this kind of difficulty can't stop a talkative person from talking. "I understand, let's get started." Yes. Because the conversation was carried out with consciousness, the time was very short, not even a second passed in the outside world. Before everyone could react from this series of changes, they saw a layer of red chain mark appear on Garashi's body. Then, in front of everyone's shocked eyes, Garashi, who was jumping back with Wuwei, fell heavily to the ground from mid-air. Garashi shouted angrily, "Wuwei, what are you doing?" Wuwei took the opportunity to roll to the side. As he rolled, he shouted, "Now!" Yes, this is the mark. Wuwei got it. After confirming that Garashi was indeed sealed by Wuwei's fire release, Anoki, who had been in a standby state, couldn't wait to complete the final action. Dust Release, Primordial Stripping Technique. He had some understanding of Wuwei's fire release seal and knew that to lift the seal, the caster must be in close contact with the other party. With Wuwei's current distance from Garashi, it was impossible for him to betray them and lift the seal. Goodbye, Shimizu Garashi. However, what Anoki knows is the normal version circulated in the Ghost Lamp Town. Due to the rarity of Sage, the records do not mention the effect of fire release Heavenly Prison on Senjutsu Chakra, which made Anoki misled by these records. Because in Garashi and Wuwei's experiment, the answer was no. At the same time, Garashi also raised his hand to complete the space-time boundary. How can he still use chakra? Anoki looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Yellow Earth noticed that Wu Wei, who had rolled to the side, grabbed a shuriken and pointed it at them. That's the shuriken that Shimizu Garashi used to locate the position before? Did he pick it up from the ground? Just as this thought flashed through Yellow Earth's mind, the shining white light in front of the shuriken scared him. Their target is father? Yellow Earth had no time to think about it and pushed Anoki, who was floating in the air, away with the fastest speed in his life. However, he was still a step too late. The dazzling white light came in a flash, completely swallowing his right arm and Anoki's left leg. Chapter 212. First, Garashi attacked Kitsuchi to save Wu Wei, then Wu Wei counterattacked Garashi, and then Wu Wei betrayed Rock Crypsis. This series of changes made everyone's brain stop working. Especially the panic on the faces of the coalition forces and the ecstasy in the eyes of the Rock Crypsis ninja. Before they had time to speak, they found that the situation had completely reversed, and they had to silently swallow back the words that were about to come out of their mouths. How is this possible? Wu Wei is his people. Anoki's heart was cold. He was now clear that Shimizu Garashi should have known their actions for a long time, but he pretended not to know, and even used himself as bait to set a trap for them. But there was one thing he still didn't understand. They had clearly firmly controlled Wu Wei. How did Shimizu Garashi know their actions, and how did he communicate with Wu Wei to set this trap? It can't be a tacit understanding between men, right? However, he didn't have time to think about it. He endured the pain of his broken leg, grabbed Kitsuchi and flew into the sky. This is a trap, run. Hearing the voice of the Tsuchikage, everyone woke up from their dream. One by one they fled in panic, but in this ghost city surrounded by the sea, how could it be so easy to escape? Jump into the sea, I'll help you. On shouted. The Hachibi was created by the six-paths Senin with reference to cows and octopuses, and the Gobi was based on horses and dolphins, so they were given some power to control water when they were created. Although they can't be compared with the big turtle Sanbai, it's not a problem to save some people from the sea. However, everyone in the coalition forces naturally couldn't sit back and watch them jump into the sea to escape. One by one they used their maximum strength to stop them. They didn't want to kill the enemy as long as they didn't have time to escape. Body flicker technique. I run. Earth release, earth wall. I block. For a while the battlefield became extremely chaotic. Satu, who was the protagonist of the battlefield, flapped his wings blankly. He could read the thoughts in the hearts of these people, but because of this, he could feel the horror of these people. One side was plotting, the other side was scheming. Even it was just a part of the human scheme. Compared to the darkness in the hearts of these humans, its darkness incarnation was not enough. Especially that seemingly harmless human cub. He was like its nemesis. If it didn't run away quickly, it would be finished when the other party had the time to spare. Thinking of this, Wu hurriedly grabbed the box of bliss with his legs and flew into the sky, carrying the bucket, and running away. That guy is actually a two-faced spy. No, considering his past experience, he's obviously a three-faced spy. This idiot that I've possessed has been in contact with him for so long, yet he didn't realize it. Black Jew's heart was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Because he possessed a magic leech, it was easy for him to be influenced by the magic leech's preconceived notions while reading the other party's memories. It was because the demon leech trusted the little brat that he didn't even think about it? Well, it was definitely not because he was fooled as well. Forget it, if I don't succeed this time, there will be a next time. For me, it's nothing more than a change of identity and a new start. For Black Jew, who had worked hard for 1,000 years in exchange for success, this level of failure was simply not worth mentioning. At this moment, Garashi's roar sounded on the battlefield. Anoki, Sama, don't think about running away, stay here for me today. Garashi used the shadow clone to attract attention in front, while the main body quietly circled behind Magic Leech. Super Jade Rasengan. You want to keep this old man here? Anoki was angry, but suddenly his expression stagnated. Flying in the sky, he naturally had a clear view of the battle below. Seeing Garashi shouting at him to stay, but actually using a big move to attack Magic Leech, Anoki was directly puzzled. Sigma degree, Magic Leech run. Although Magic Leech was confused for a moment, but when the Super Jade Rasengan fell, he still reacted. This little devil knows that it's too late to kill Anoki, so he intends to expand the battle and kill us, who can't escape in time? Black Jew guessed in his heart, pretending to be angry and desperate. No. For him who was essentially a yin-yang creation, the destruction of his body didn't affect him at all. This level of attack couldn't even cause any substantial damage to him. On the contrary, it was an opportunity for him to retreat. But when the energy ball destroyed Magic Leech's body, Black Jew suddenly discovered a fact that made him panic. At the center of the energy ball, there was a small energy ball hidden. It was the Rasengan with natural chakra. This time Black Jew really made a heart-wrenching scream. No. Hearing this extremely mournful voice, everyone instinctively trembled. This was especially true for Old Purple. Old Purple's cry reminded him of some unpleasant memories, and his buttocks began to ache. Damn Magic Leech, I will take care of your wife. Anoki, who was in pain for not being able to save people, was shocked to find that a piece of black mud fell from Magic Leech's body, and the incomplete body seemed to have black water flashing into the ground. If he didn't see that Garashi was sealing the black mud, he would have thought that the black water was his illusion. Wait, why is he still sealing? Anoki's eyes widened. From a moment ago, Shimizu Garashi used more than a dozen seals in a row. This kind of seal, even the QB seal, is like this, right? What the hell is going on? Why does Shimizu Garashi pay so much attention to the black mud? And what's with Magic Leech's reaction? Anoki faintly felt that the truth behind this incident may be more complicated than he thought. It seems that there is a big hand in the dark pushing all of this. Anoki wasn't the only one who noticed Garashi's strangeness. Danzo frowned and asked, "What the hell is going on?" Garashi shook his head slightly, and after putting away the scroll that sealed Black Zetsu's body, he responded, "This matter will be discussed later, let's solve the immediate problem first. At least we can't let them leave so easily." Because the movement here attracted a lot of attention, many Rock Crypsis ninjas took the opportunity to jump into the sea. After all, facing the pressure of life and death, of course, they didn't dare to relax like the coalition forces. Hearing the sound of Shushi's voice, everyone seemed to have woken up from a dream and chased after him. However, for ninjas, a few seconds is enough for them to escape far away. This was especially true when faced with the pressure of death. Damn, we can't catch up. Don't be impulsive, it's too dangerous to jump into the sea. In this regretful voice, Garashi stepped on the wall and went straight down, then put his right hand into the sea. Get ready to chase. Ice Age. Chapter 213. Squeak. Accompanied by a teeth-numbing sound, a large area of white spread in an instant. It was an extremely cold layer of ice, and it instantly covered the sea as far as the eye could see. Although it couldn't freeze the sea like a certain someone, it was still possible to freeze this part of the sea. Seeing this shocking scene, everyone on the rooftops subconsciously opened their mouths and rubbed their eyes in disbelief. Are you kidding? This is the sea. What a terrible power. Or, this is not a power that humans should master at all. This is not something that can be done by simply using a large amount of chakra. It's like choosing a weapon. Everyone knows that the heavier the weapon, the more damage it will cause. But the fact is that it is difficult to use a weapon that is beyond one's ability. The same is true for chakra. If one uses too much chakra at one time, not to mention a complete ninjutsu, it may be impossible to complete the hand seals normally. Being able to do this shows that Garashi has the ability to control this amount of chakra. As for the other side of the sea, Rock Crypsis who had just escaped were almost desperate. Have we always been fighting against such an enemy? We can't win, the level difference is too big. Some of them were frozen in the lower body, which was easy to break, but some of them were frozen in the whole body, and it was impossible to break without external help. Rashi frowned. He can break the ice, but he can't guarantee that he won't hurt his frozen companions. Seeing that the enemy has jumped off the ice, Rashi couldn't care too much. There's no time to think. Even if we are burned to death, it's better than becoming an ice sculpture. Lava release, great fire breath. The ice layer quickly melted, and the frozen Rock Crypsis ninjas fell into the sea. After a short chase, the Rock Village lost a third of their elite ninjas and managed to escape in a sorry state. After the chase, everyone returned to Ghost Town. At this time, everyone had time to ask questions. Garashi, what the hell is going on? Garashi apologized. I'm sorry, to prevent the news from leaking out, I hid some of the information. In fact, I received the information earlier than you, so I played along and set up this trap with Wu Wei. Although they had already guessed it, they were still shocked when they heard Garashi's confirmation. He actually turned the enemy's plot against him into a trap for the enemy. Such courage and wisdom was truly admirable. Danzo asked. You haven't told me yet, what is that black mud? Garashi shook his head slightly. I'm not sure either. But one thing is certain, the owner of this black mud is the real mastermind behind all of this. Hearing Garashi's explanation, everyone found it hard to accept. How is that possible? Is there someone who can control the Tsuchikage? It's too scary. There's actually such a monster hiding among them. Garashi muttered. Judging from Inoki's reaction, he should have been deceived as well. The mastermind behind all this is using the rock Crypsis's desire to defeat us. Everyone nodded thoughtfully, and they were even more shocked. They didn't even see through Inoki's plot, but Garashi saw the conspiracy hidden under it and even used it to severely injure the mastermind behind it. In terms of level, Garashi is at least 5 levels higher than them. Danzo was dumbfounded. Inoki was calculating, the mastermind was calculating, and Shimizu Garashi was also calculating. Compared with these people, he was as pure as a little, old white flower. For a while, Danzo had the illusion that he was the only good person. But after thinking about it, a deep fear and scruples followed. With Inoki's attention to this operation, he must be on guard against Wu Wei. So how did they communicate? And the most important point is that to let Wu Wei participate in this kind of thing, it is enough to show Inoki's trust in him, but such a trusted person was easily turned. Thinking of this, Danzo couldn't help but sigh. This kid has the power of Hiruzen and the wisdom of this old man, he's really unfathomable. At the same time, hundreds of feet below the ground. For the first time in thousands of years, Black Zetsu cried. Not because of the physical pain, but because of the pain that came from the root of his heart. This body was the only gift left by his mother. But today the only gift was destroyed. Unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. Black Zetsu sniffed, and when he was thinking about how to retaliate, he suddenly felt panic in his heart. Wait, why did he deliberately target me? Why did he deliberately use senjutsu? Could it be that he has already noticed my existence? He was never afraid of failure, he was not afraid of pain, the only thing he was afraid of was being exposed. Once his identity was exposed, and his 2 brothers discovered his existence, he would never be able to save his mother. Yes, the source of his fear was his 2 brothers. Even he could live until now, how could his 2 brothers who inherited most of his mother's power die? In his view, his 2 brothers must still exist in some corner of the shinobi world in some form. Black Zetsu forced himself to calm down from the fear. Think about it carefully, his trap this time wasn't designed for rock Crypsis, his target was me. But where did he find out about my existence? Was it when I followed Nagato and was noticed by him? But how is this possible? Black Zetsu felt ridiculous, he didn't leave anything at that time, the only message he left should be that Shimizu Garashi guessed that someone was paying attention to him. How can he infer that ordinary ninjutsu is ineffective against him with just this information? It's impossible. Could it be that the little devil's attack was ineffective last time, and he discovered some of my characteristics? Black Zetsu whispered, but where did he get the information about the yin-yang release? That slug? Or the Kyubi? Or, is he himself the reincarnation of the 6 paths chakra? Thinking of this, Black Zetsu's soul trembled. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. The 6th path is not as easy to deceive as his 2 sons. If I was the reincarnation of his chakra, I would be dead by now. Black Zetsu forced himself to calm down. Don't think about where he got the information, let's think about what to do next. It's reasonable to say that if someone guessed part of his information or even got part of his body, he should kill the other party at all costs. But Black Zetsu hesitated. The little devil's life-saving ability is too strong. With the ability he has, it's impossible to kill him. Unless he could convince Qingshui Shushi to trust him, and then tell him some heartfelt words. But the problem was that Qingshui Shushi's intuition was too strong. Last time he had only revealed a little bit of malice and he had been detected. It was an impossible task to make Qingshui Shushi believe him. There's another point, this time he just calculated a little, and the result was that he was found and even his disguise was torn apart. If this continues, he's worried that he will be completely exposed. Damn it, I can't provoke him, but I can hide. Tomorrow I'll go to the other side and see if there's anyone on the battlefield who meets the requirements. First, I'll test that Namikaze Minato to be as famous as this little devil, his ability should also be outstanding. Chapter 214. After the battle of Inoki and Kitsuchi, Inoki and Kitsuchi were seriously injured and disabled. Not to mention their high-end combat power, the elite ninjas they brought also suffered heavy losses. In this situation, Rock Crypsis didn't want to continue the war, but Woodleaf didn't want to give up the advantage. However, Rock Crypsis, who had been unlucky for so long, finally got lucky. The monster named Satori raged on the battlefield, wantonly grabbing ninjas and throwing them into the box of bliss. The strong Jinchuriki and the Kage of the villages could only beat it. The only person who could make the monster scared was Shimizu Garashi. And this discovery also made Garashi's power on the battlefield reached its peak. Garashi could do something that the strong people of the villages couldn't do, so naturally he was madly worshipped. However, it was precisely because of the monster's harassment that Woodleaf couldn't launch a general attack, giving Rock Crypsis a breathing space. The chaotic large-scale battlefield was like a shark smelling blood for Satori. The gathering of negative emotions made it excited. The most important thing was that those strong people on the battlefield were entangled and couldn't spare their hands and feet to deal with it. This also made the battlefield turn into a slaughterhouse for Satori every time they launched a general attack. After discovering this, the two sides maintained a superficial peace and controlled the war to a small range of probing. Woodleaf looked for a way to deal with the monster, and Rock Crypsis patiently accumulated strength. Under this undercurrent, a year's time passed very quickly. Temporary hospital. After treating an injured Chunin, Garashi smiled and said, "Well, you're healed now." Garashi-sama, I'm really grateful. Although he was grateful, the injured Chunin's eyes were more fanatical. I only played an insignificant role, Li Tianlan said. Garashi smiled and pointed to the three people beside him. You should really thank the three of them. The injured Chunin smiled and rubbed the heads of the little guys. Little doctors, you're amazing. Do smiled gently. You flatter me. Compared with the teacher, we are still far behind. Looking at this inexplicably familiar smile, the injured Chunin was in a trance for a moment. He seemed to see the shadow of Lord Garashi in Kabuto. Is this little guy deliberately imitating Garashi-sama? The Chunin snickered, but he wasn't surprised. As the light of Woodleaf and a hero on the battlefield, Garashi was naturally worshipped and imitated by many people. Such fanaticism was not limited to Woodleaf. Even San Crypsis had a large number of Garashi's loyal fans. After the injured Chunin was healed and left, the hospital was empty again. Garashi smiled and praised them. The three of you have made great progress. In a few years you might be able to complete the surgery alone. Daodu's eyes were filled with admiration. It's all thanks to you that we can make such progress. Moreover, completing the operation independently is not something to be proud of. Ren and Wu also nodded vigorously. I heard that you were able to complete difficult surgeries alone at our age. At this moment, a laugh came from outside the door. You guys, how can you compare yourself to a monster of the abnormal level? Hearing this, the three of them looked at the door angrily. As soon as Asma walked in, he met three pairs of murderous eyes. He couldn't help but touch the back of his head and laugh. Ah, did I say something wrong? The three of them said in unison, That's rude. The teacher is not a monster. Just because of this? Asma didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Garashi, your position in their hearts is too high. However, he also followed the good advice. Well, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that Garashi is a monster. It should be a tailed beast without a tail. Of course, Asma didn't dare to say this out loud. Seeing this, the three reluctantly let him go. Garashi smiled at the right time. You finally came back from the blind date? Asma suddenly looked like he couldn't bear to look back and complained, I'm only 13.5 years old. Why do I have to bear the pressure that I shouldn't bear at this age? Although Garashi was quite speechless about this, he still said, This is also Naruto-sama's concern. If you want to care, you should care about my brother. He hasn't had a child after being married for several years. With that, Asma said enviously, Tsunade-sama is still the best. She never cares about Garashi on such boring things. Daodu smiled and said with a poisonous tongue. I think, maybe in Tsunade-sama's view with the teacher's charm, there's no need to worry about this kind of thing. That's true. Asma said and was startled. Hey, there seems to be something wrong? The two little girls said, Oh, that is to say, Asma-sama's charm is too poor to make Naruto-sama care about him, right? Asma was speechless. These little guys are too uncute. However, he was too embarrassed to argue with children. After coughing twice, Asma quickly took out a scroll and changed the topic. Garashi, this is what the old man asked me to give you. Shushi took the scroll. Is there going to be a quest? Asma shrugged. I don't know, I didn't peek. Garashi opened the scroll and frowned slightly. Is it written with a secret code? You sit here for a while, I'll translate it. Shushi got up and left, leaving the room in an awkward state of staring at each other. Asma had to smile awkwardly to find a topic. This hospital is quite deserted. There hasn't been a patient for so long. Kabuto said helplessly. There's no other way. After all, there hasn't been a battle for a long time. Rin sighed. In fact, there were some people before, but after the teacher gave an order to prohibit self-harm, there were fewer. Self-harm? What's going on? Asma was a little confused. During this time, both sides were at peace. He was called back for a blind date, so he didn't know much about what happened in the camp. Fog covered her mouth and snickered. It's not because the teacher's charm is too great. Not to mention the female ninja, even the male ninja deliberately self-harmed to find the teacher for treatment. Asma couldn't help but stare. Was it that exciting? Kabuto looked at Asma with bright eyes. Actually, the teacher is very envious of you, Asma-sama. Asma suddenly became interested, and even his eyebrows couldn't help but raise. What does Garashi envy me for? Kabuto squinted his eyes and smiled. Of course, I envy your mediocrity. If the teacher also grew up like you, there wouldn't be so many confusion and troubles. Asma's face was distorted. What did he mean by growing up like him? In the ninja school, he and Garashi were called the schoolboy. Rin retorted in time, your statement is too shallow. Hearing Rin arguing for him, Asma's heart was a little balanced. Then he heard Rin say, with the strength and connotation of the teacher, even if he grows up like Asma-sama, he will be very popular. Kabuto suddenly realized and said embarrassedly, it's my fault. Asma's face was full of grief and indignation. There was no way to talk about this. When Garashi came out with the scroll, he saw Asma leaning on the chair with blank eyes, like a salted fish that had lost its dream. Garashi was shocked. Asma, what's wrong with you? Asma covered his chest. Here, I'm injured. Then you should take care of yourself. Garashi laughed. I was going to ask you to go to Rorin with me to perform a mission, but now it seems that I'd better find someone else. Chapter 215. What? Mission. Hearing this, Asma suddenly resurrected on the spot. Wait, I'm already healed. Garashi joked, isn't your injury healed too fast? Asma smiled, heartache, as long as I use the mission to enrich myself so that I don't have time to worry about it, it will be fine. With that said, he couldn't help but complain, I haven't fought many battles this year, if I stay idle like this I'm going to get moldy. Garashi shook his head slightly, no war is always a good thing. That's true, but it's too boring to leave it here all the time. Asma sighed. That's why I thought of you first. Garashi shrugged. Garashi, you know me best. But then Asma was puzzled again, it's okay for me to go out on a mission, but Garashi, if you also go out, what if the monster comes to catch us? Don't underestimate Danzo and Kazakage-sama, there won't be a problem with them. Garashi said, moreover, the ultimate goal of this mission is actually to catch that monster. Asma was surprised. What do you mean? Garashi clenched his right fist and touched his chin. Rumor has it that that country has the dragon vein chakra, maybe we can use it to attract that monster. After all, if it runs away every time it sees me, I won't be able to seal it again. Asma hesitated, is this really okay? That monster is scared to death of you. Garashi pondered and said, greed can overcome fear. If that chakra is really as big as the legend says, it will be enough to overcome its fear of me. Asma hesitated again, but if you want to fight that monster, is it really okay to take me? Garashi laughed, anyway the only person who can cause real damage to that monster is me, it doesn't matter who I take. Asma grimaced, although I'm very happy to be able to go out on a mission, Garashi, you always make me feel like I'm dispensable. You can't say that, you are still very useful. Garashi sighed, the biggest problem of this mission is how to protect Lulan from Go's attack. We can't let innocent people be implicated because of our mission. This. Asma touched his head, the old man seems to be a little inconsiderate. In fact, the Hokage-sama also mentioned the compensation afterwards, and also helped them to uncover the conspiracy that our spies found in that country. Garashi sighed, however I still think that it's too arrogant to impose kindness on the other side, but in reality, it will bring disaster and destruction. Asma was silent for a moment, then laughed, how about I tell the old man to give up this mission? Garashi shook his head gently, it's better not to add pressure to Naruto-sama. The battle here has been deadlocked for too long, and the pressure on Naruto-sama is no less than ours. Moreover, this decision is also the choice of most of the village's people. Asma said gloomily, this can't be done and that can't be done. The adult world is too difficult. In fact, the answer is already very clear. As ninjas, we don't have the right to choose. The only thing we can do is to try our best to ensure that the innocent people of Lulan are not implicated. Garashi put his hands on Asma's shoulders, and this is what we need you to do. I understand. Asma took a deep breath and said in a heavy voice, our mission is to ensure that the villagers are not hurt when you fight with the monster, right? Garashi nodded. That monster's self-healing ability is very strong, and it will be difficult to determine the winner in a short time. I will protect them. Asma solemnly promised. There is one last question, how do we attract the monster? My idea is to attract the monster to 2 points, internal and external. Garashi methodically analyzed. The internal reason is that we will expose the conspiracy that is happening in that country, and let the dragon vein chakra leak part of it, arousing the greed in the heart of the monster. As for the external reason, I think Danzo Elder will be very happy to accept the task of exposing our purpose. Garashi sat alone in the room, looking at the black mud in front of him and helplessly shook his head. Sure enough, it still won't work. In a year's time, and under the circumstances of having a real object as a reference, not to mention mastering the yin-yang release, he couldn't even reach the entry level. However, Garashi didn't belittle himself. The yin-yang release seems to be a Kekkei Genkai, but in fact, it is equivalent to the fusion of the 5 elements. He can't even develop the Kekkei Genkai, so naturally, it is beyond his ability to learn the yin-yang release. But there is one thing that Garashi is still very confused about. In the memory of my previous life, old Madara taught bordered soil the forbidden jutsu of the Uchiha, the 6 paths jutsu, and the yin-yang release. Even I can't do it, but bordered soil can learn it in a short time. Is the opening of the Mangekyo and the guidance of sensei really so effective? Thinking of this, Garashi regretted that he hit Black Zetsu so hard. I was too anxious at the time, I should have taken their guidance for free, and then snatched Black Zetsu's body. After letting out a sigh, Garashi sealed Black Zetsu again. And the trip to Rorin. Dragon Vein Chakra? I didn't expect that I would replace Minato's identity. When receiving this task, Garashi was a little surprised. However, this also makes it convenient for me to act. The Dragon Vein Chakra is actually not a special secret for the high-level officials of various countries. The reason why it wasn't taken away is naturally because the Dragon Vein Chakra is extremely difficult to use, and a few ninjas who didn't believe in it were turned into petrified statues in the desert. As for using the Dragon Vein Chakra as a source of energy like Rorin, it has to be established in Rorin. The countries that are unwilling to give up the superior geographical position naturally no longer pay attention to it after the surprise. Although the Sand Crypsis is a little tempted, compared to the lack of food and water, some energy is not so important. Of course, this is also because they didn't explore the use of the Dragon Vein Chakra like Baizu. If their thinking is a little more active like Baizu, they think of using the body of a puppet to carry the too powerful Dragon Vein Chakra, then they will be cheeky and eat Rorin. Garashi had to sigh. Although the ordinary sand ninja named Baizu is mediocre, his thinking is much more active than those traditional puppet ninjas. Dragon Vein Chakra. It's better to say that it's Chakra Senjutsu condensed natural energy. Speaking of it, when Otsutsuki Kagaya was resurrected in Madara's body, the chakra absorbed from the ground should also be Dragon Vein Chakra, right? Thinking of this, Garashi was a little tempted. Should I replace the Kyubi Chakra in the Yin Seal with Dragon Vein Chakra? Although the one-time use of Sage Mode is convenient, it's still too weak in terms of endurance. In order to save Senjutsu Chakra, he usually only uses Senjutsu at the last moment. Usually he fights with the help of Sage Mode. This kind of fighting style makes him feel like he is getting closer to Ultraman. Although Chakra Senjutsu is powerful, it's also more dangerous. Whether it can be used as a suitable power has to be experimented. Whether it's used for storage in the Yin Seal or some of my subsequent plans. Thinking of this, Garashi made a decision in his heart. I must get the technique to control Dragon Vein Chakra. Chapter 216. One day later, when Garashi and the others were on their way to Rorin. In a small town, a huge box was placed in the center of the town, and on top of the box, there was a huge motionless monster. Bathed in the sand, it looked like a sand sculpture. When it sensed a powerful ninja entering the town, the sand sculpture quickly resurrected and was ready to run away. However, after discovering the identity of the person who came, it became lazy again. If it's not the human cub, then it's fine. Humph. You bastard, you're really arrogant. Noticing the change in Goku's attitude, Danzo snorted coldly. Those who have no strength are arrogant, those who have strength are arrogant. Goku shouted provocatively. Danzo's mouth twitched. He was despised by this monster? It seems that after coming out of the box, you learned a lot of human things. Learn? What a low-level ability. As long as I read your heart, I can easily understand your thoughts. For example, you often imagine a man named Sarutobi kneeling in front of you, crying that he was wrong, begging you to take over the position of Naruto and lead the village to victory. Enough. Danzo's face turned black. This feeling of being stripped of his clothes and seen through his body was really bad. Goku shook his head and sighed. I've seen a lot of people's hearts, but I've never seen a darkness like yours in your human language. It should be called colorful darkness, right? Danzo suppressed his anger and sneered, since you're so powerful, why don't you read the purpose of my visit this time? What's so difficult about this? Goku said casually, well, you used the news of the Ryumayaku chakra to lure me to Rorin so that Shimizu Garashi can seal me? Haha, what a stupid plan, conspiracy is useless against me. Danzo wasn't surprised, he already knew that this would be the result. Hey, since you can see through this old man's thoughts, then you should know that I'm not lying. The Ryumayaku chakra does exist, and it's the only way you can defeat Shimizu Garashi, and this time he's carrying the task of sealing the Ryumayaku chakra. Hearing this, Wu was in a dilemma. Although the bandaged man was evil, what he said was not wrong. Once that human brat sealed the dragon vein, it would no longer have the chance to taste the sweet and delicious chakra. The most important thing is that he has read an important piece of information from the minds of the human ninjas. Shimizu Garashi's growth rate is astonishing, and without the support of the huge chakra, it is impossible for him to grow faster than the other party. In other words, if it did not actively change in a few years, that human brat would be able to easily defeat it. Seeing Goku's struggle, Danzo added fuel to the fire. Can't you see through my heart? Continue reading. This old man once had an opportunity to subdue him, but because of the threat of his teacher, I chose to delay this opportunity for a few years. You've also seen the result. In just a few short years, that little brat has grown to the point where even I can't suppress him, and was even humiliated by him in front of everyone. You are now just like me at that time because you are unwilling to take risks. In the end, you will be crushed by him like a stone on the road. Hearing Danzo's sincere analysis, Goku couldn't help but be moved and patted his shoulder with his wings. You're right, I can't be a waste like you, stupid human. Danzo's face was distorted. Where did this monster learn its bad mouth from? I'm going. After saying that, Goku took his beloved big box and flew away. Oh, are you going to send him off? Danzo looked at the sky with a mocking expression. Monsters are monsters even if they can read the hearts of humans, they are nothing more than puppets. Outside Rorin City. The team members sat in a circle and Garashi also sat cross-legged. The man who is using the dragon vein chakra to develop the puppet weapons is the minister of Rorin. If we act rashly, we may attract the disgust of the higher-ups. Kurenai raised her hand to speak. So, our task now is to expose his conspiracy? Garashi nodded in agreement. According to the information obtained from spies, his actions in Rorin are very flamboyant, and he even directly used puppets to replace the people to deceive the queen. So, it won't be difficult for us to expose him. Metke said excitedly. Then what's the point of discussing the battle plan? Let's just rush in and expose the conspiracy to save Rorin. Garashi's expression was dignified. It's easy to expose him, but once he activates the puppet weapons, the people in this country will suffer. Not only that, there are many people in his base who have been captured as coolies. We have to protect their safety as much as possible. Asuma urged. Garashi, just tell us the plan, you don't have to explain it to us. Garashi nodded slightly. Me, you, Guy, and Mizuki will be in a group. We will be responsible for explaining the situation to the queen and rescuing the people in the base. Kurenai and Shizen, each of you will lead a group. Kurenai, your group will be responsible for dispersing the rest of the people and leading them to seek refuge. Shizen, your group will be responsible for emergency treatment and ensure. At this moment, Mizuki, who was patrolling outside, carried a man wearing Woodleaf's vest over. Putting down the ninja he was carrying, Mizuki said, Garashi, I saw this guy fainted at the entrance of Rorin, so I brought him back. But I'm puzzled because I don't remember Woodleaf having such a ninja. Although he looks a little unfamiliar. Asuma sized him up. But Woodleaf has so many ninjas, so it's not strange that you can't recognize him, right? Kurenai asked, could he be one of our spies? He was discovered by the enemy when he was scouting for information and tried his best to escape, but he fainted at the entrance. Garashi had a strange look in his eyes. Isn't this guy Yamato who should have been offline during this incident? If he can be picked up like this, could it be the attraction between the first-generation experimental subjects? Garashi half-squatted and placed his right hand on Yamato's chest, and a warm fluorescent light bloomed. The next moment Yamato slowly woke up. Oh, where is this? Rorin. Hearing this familiar word, Yamato, who was in a daze, suddenly woke up. Yes, I should be in the building, Yamato said and glanced at everyone's woodleaf forehead protectors. Are you woodleaf ninjas? Why haven't I seen you before? Asuma waved his hand and asked, We want to ask you, Uncle, who are you? Yamato looked at Asuma in a daze. This face looks a little familiar. Seeing Yamato's dazed expression, Guy shouted, It's over, he didn't lose his memory, did he? Looking in the direction of the voice, Yamato almost spat out his saliva. This watermelon head and thick eyebrows are the same, there's no mistake. This guy must be Guy's illegitimate son. Chapter 217. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but whisper. It's over, this guy seems to be really stupid. Yeah, he doesn't even know who he is. He already looked stupid, but now he's even worse. Yamato's eyes were in a trance. In addition to a Guy senpai's illegitimate child, he seemed to have discovered many other people's illegitimate children. Knowing this big secret, he'll definitely be killed when he returns to Woodleaf. Garashi narrowed his eyes. When he saw Asuma and Guy, he was obviously shocked and confused, but when he saw me, he was very calm. If it's the future, there's no reason for me to be so miserable. Sure enough, it's a parallel universe, right? Thinking of this, Garashi coughed lightly. Is it convenient to tell us your mission? Our mission is to come to Rorin to capture a person called Muzu. Yamato felt a little strange. He obviously has a child's face, but what's with the tone of a superior that makes people involuntarily want to answer? Also, this little guy is really handsome. It's a pity that Sakura didn't fall, otherwise she might not have to drag Naruto to look for him. Wait, where's Naruto? Only then did Yamato realize that Naruto was gone. He jumped up frantically and pulled his hair. Did you see my student Naruto? He has 6 beard lines on his face and he looks silly? Seeing him like this, everyone shook their heads and sighed with pity. There's a big fool sensei, his student must be very pitiful. You can't say that. Even he thinks his student is stupid. Maybe it's a special ninja team formed to care for disabled ninjas? Yamato's eyes widened. How is he stupid? Even Danzo-sama praised him as a genius. But before he could refute, he saw the handsome little ninja surrounded by everyone with a dignified expression. It's really dangerous for a student to go missing. We'll also help you find him. That's 2. Yamato was embarrassed. These little guys look younger than Naruto. Come on, aren't they just messing around? Well, I'll protect you. But before he finished speaking, he found that everyone completely ignored his existence. Everyone acted according to the young leader's instructions. What high efficiency. So many people didn't even hesitate or question his orders. Hanging at the back, Yamato became more and more shocked as he watched. The teamwork of this small team was extremely good, and their quality was also very high. So many people were moving together, but not a single sound was made. This kind of efficiency was not something that could be cultivated in a peaceful era. Also, where did Woodleaf get so many geniuses? Especially the 2 of them, even though they're carrying such a heavy load, their movements aren't affected at all. Yamato thought. Suddenly, his eyes widened and his body almost fell off the roof. Everyone turned around and looked at him with dissatisfaction. This uncle was too useless. He couldn't even do basic jumping and running. Yamato pointed his trembling finger at Mizuki and Asuma. Their ninja tools are not missed. At this time, Garashi lowered his voice and asked, 6 beard lines, are you talking about the one in front? Hearing Garashi talking about Naruto, Yamato temporarily suppressed the shock in his heart and looked ahead. Then he saw Naruto jumping around the tower with a girl in his arms. Seeing this, Yamato suddenly became angry. I'm here in fear and you're flirting with a girl over there? We're lucky. The girl he's holding is the one we're looking for. Garashi said in a deep voice, Let's go. The one we're looking for? Yamato followed in confusion. Ahead, in the shadow of a tall tower, Naruto was slapped several times in the face by the girl for molesting her. Why did you hit me? I saved you. Well, that seems to be the case. Although depressed, Naruto has always been optimistic and didn't care about it. By the way, are you Her Majesty the Queen? I'm Sarah, Queen of Rorin. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, a ninja from Woodleaf Village. After the introduction, Naruto touched his head and asked, By the way, why did you fall from the tower? Sarah looked worried. It felt like someone pushed me from behind. Did someone want to hurt? At this moment, a voice came from above. You're Her Majesty the Queen of Roran. Sorry, we're looking for you. At the same time, Garashi and the others jumped to the ground. Seeing more than a dozen people suddenly appear in front of her, Sarah panicked. Who are you? Naruto's eyes were vigilant. Are you here to take her life? After saying that, Naruto rushed toward Garashi, who was obviously the leader of the group. Don't get excited. Garashi raised his right hand and easily knocked the kunai out of Naruto's hand, then grabbed Naruto's arm and tied it behind his back. Wait, this is a misunderstanding. Yamato's nervous voice came from above, and he fell to the ground after everyone. Seeing this, Naruto said excitedly, Captain Yamato. Yamato's tone was stern. Naruto, you really should change your impulsive habit. Didn't you see the forehead protector on their heads? How can you attack a ninja from the same village before figuring out the situation? Naruto looked back and muttered, it's really wood leaf forehead protector? But why haven't I seen them before? Yamato turned to look at Shushi. I'm sorry to have caused you trouble. At this time he was shocked. Although Yamato and Naruto only fought for a short time, and didn't even use ninjutsu, he could see a lot of things. Speed, strength, and reaction were all first class. The most important thing was his eyesight. He could see through Naruto's flaws in an instant, and even easily counter it. Such a veteran combat experience shouldn't appear at his age. Garashi let go of Naruto and then looked at Sarah solemnly. I'm Wood Leaf Jounin Shimizu Garashi, and I'm here to save this country. Without waiting for Sarah to reply, Naruto rubbed his shoulder and said in surprise, You're a Jounin? How is that possible? Naruto suddenly realized and guessed, You must be the short senpai who can't grow tall. No wonder you look about the same age as me. Hearing this, everyone behind Garashi glared at Naruto. You're really strange. You've been strange since the beginning. That's right. After hearing Garashi's name you still said such strange things. How dare you insult Garashi? I'll never forgive you. Cold sweat dripped from Yamato's forehead. It was just a simple sentence. Why did they suddenly want to kill him? Is that boy named Garashi so important in their hearts? Chapter 218. Mizuki's face was even colder. As a wood leaf shinobi, you don't even know Garashi's name. These two guys are most likely enemy spies. Let's catch them first. Seeing the other party's murderous aura and even pulling out his katana from his back, Naruto was puzzled. Why did you suddenly? But as he spoke, he also felt that something was wrong. This guy's face was a bit familiar, but the sword in his hand was obviously if you don't kill. At this time, Asuma patted Mizuki's shoulder. Relax, Mizuki. I think they may not have been back for too long. With Garashi's reputation, even spies can't not know him. So you're Mizuki-sensei, but aren't you in prison? Hearing this familiar word, Naruto finally remembered the other person's identity. No, you obviously became old after taking Orochimaru's forbidden medicine. Why are you so young now? Could it be that Orochimaru rescued you and gave you a forbidden drug? Sensei? Prison? It's inexplicable. Mizuki slashed with his sword. If you want to go to prison, I'll send you there. I'll catch you again. After discovering that it was his old enemy, Naruto also excitedly greeted him. I'm not the same as before. Seeing this, Asuma and the others couldn't calm down. He knows Rasengan? Isn't this a technique developed by Garashi? Hearing their conversation, Yamato and Naruto were in a trance. Wasn't Rasengan a technique developed by Yondaime? At that moment, Shushi teleported between the two of them. He easily grabbed their wrists and stopped their attacks. Both of you stop. So powerful. Naruto opened his mouth in surprise. It was the first time that his Rasengan was cracked in this way. Moreover, it cracked both his and Mizuki's attacks at the same time. This scene made him recall that back then, Sasuke had used the method of destroying walls to attack Itachi with Chidori, but in the end, Itachi had easily grabbed his wrist and even hit him with a Tsukuyami. Rasengan was developed by me. Of course, it's not difficult to crack it. Garashi smiled and let go of his hands. Rasengan? Naruto's eyes were in a trance. But wasn't Rasengan developed by Yondaime Naruto? The current Naruto is only the third generation. This time it was Asuma's turn to be unhappy. No matter how bad the old man is, it's not up to you to curse him. Understanding the meaning behind Asuma's words, Big Harmony stammered, could it be that you're really Asuma-senpai? In other words, you're really Senior Kai, Senior Red, and Senior Mute? Yes, I did nothing wrong. Asuma frowned, but you're an uncle and you call me Senior. Is it because you've stayed in the Ninja Academy for decades? Big Harmony almost choked on his saliva, then he took a deep breath. I think I understand what's going on. We're both from the future. From the future? Everyone cried out in surprise. Although this was inconceivable, many things could be explained when they connected the two's previous actions. At this time, Asuma suddenly widened his eyes, pointed to Mizuki and asked, in other words, this guy will betray the village in the future and be imprisoned? Naruto nodded and recalled with a sigh, Mizuki-sensei tricked me to steal the scroll of seals. After it was exposed, I was arrested and sent to prison. I escaped from prison and went to Orochimaru. As a result, I became old because I took a forbidden drug. But recalling Naruto's memories, he felt a little strange. The Zankido wasn't something that ordinary people could use. To be able to wield the Zankido so easily, it was impossible for him to defeat Mizuki so easily. However, Asuma and the others looked gloomy. I was almost fooled by you. Is this some kind of new scam? You're trying to sow discord between us. In their view, there was a very obvious loophole in Naruto's story. That is, Mizuki would steal the scroll of seals? With Garashi's strength and reputation, he will definitely become the next Naruto in the future. And as a diehard fan of Garashi, how could Mizuki do something that would trouble Garashi? Seeing the atmosphere become tense again, Naruto and Yamato were a little tired. Why was Sensei so entangled when they were young? At this time, Garashi slowly said, they didn't lie, but they probably got one fact wrong. They shouldn't be from the future, but from a parallel universe similar to our world. Parallel universe? Asuma was vigilant. Garashi, be careful not to be fooled by them. There's no mistake, identity and information can be faked, but... Garashi stepped forward and lifted Naruto's clothes, looking at the seal on his lower abdomen and said, Kyuubi's aura can't be faked. Naruto was guarding his chest, but after hearing Garashi's words he was surprised. Kyuubi's aura? No, you seem to have Kyuubi's aura on you. 8 trigram seal, release. Garashi suddenly patted Naruto's lower abdomen, and Yamato suddenly panicked. No, stop. Seeing that Yamato was going to stop him, Garashi used Genjutsu with his left hand. Then Yamato stayed in place. Sorry, take a break for a while, let me confirm the answer. What do you want to do? Naruto's face was ferocious, but he couldn't move at all. In the next moment, a terrifying aura overflowed from Naruto's body. Wow, I'm going to destroy this. You don't even know your old friend, it's really a parallel world. Garashi sighed and used the 8 trigram seal again. Isn't this the 8 trigram seal of that bastard Minato? Damn it, I'll be back. At this point, the voice stopped abruptly. Yamato opened his eyes and saw this scene, and he couldn't help but be shocked. Not only is Genjutsu powerful enough to kill me, but he also mastered such a high-level seal and can face Kyuubi calmly. The senpai is really strong. Naruto touched the seal on his stomach. Ha! My body seems to be a lot lighter. Garashi smiled. You originally had the 8 trigram seal in your body, but later you should have been plotted against with the 5-element seal. Although the seal was finally released, the effect of the initial seal still remained. So, after I helped you release the seal, I resealed it. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Although I don't understand, it should be a good thing, thank you, big brother. Amazing, you can see that Naruto was once sealed by the 5-element seal at a glance. Yamato was secretly shocked, not to mention the strength, just this knowledge and eyesight surpassed most of the Jonin. Not to mention the people who set and unlocked the seal were 2 of the Sannin. Being able to remove the residual effects left by the 2 is enough to show how powerful the seal is. Chapter 219. At this time, Naruto remembered what Garashi said before. Garashi, Dage, did you just say that you and Kyuubi are old friends? Garashi smiled. Of course, I've known Kyuubi for 7 or 8 years. Naruto was surprised. Garashi, Dage, aren't you afraid of him? Garashi chuckled softly. Get to know him more and you'll find that Kyuubi is actually a proud fox. Naruto danced. But that's a bijou. Shouldn't it be described as ferocious and powerful? Asuma couldn't help but interrupt. What's so surprising about that? For Garashi, the average bijou is just like a kitten. Naruto and Yamato's mouth twitched. Kitten? What kind of wonderful description is that? Guy said with a look of admiration. A year ago, Garashi-senpai easily suppressed the Yanbi's complete body on the battlefield. Kurenai followed. In the Chunin exam, Garashi defeated the half-tailed Nibi's Jinchuriki and sealed the Nibi's complete body that was about to break out of the seal. Shizun waved her small hand and said, there's also the Hachibi's Jinchuriki. He was also defeated by Garashi and was seriously injured for 2 years. Naruto and Yamato's eyes gradually became dull. Suppressing the complete body of a Bijou, defeating the half-tailed Jinchuriki, and seriously injuring Yunen's perfect Jinchuriki, is this really something that a human can do? After all, Yandame-sama, Naruto sealed Kyuubi at the cost of his life. Although these Bijou are certainly not comparable to Kyuubi, they're definitely powerful. If he can defeat and suppress them, doesn't that mean that Garashi-senpai's strength is at least on par with Yandame-sama? Even the majority of the members of the Akatsuki organization were far weaker than him. Seeing Yamato and Naruto in a daze, Asuma shrugged, then looked at Mizuki with a playful expression. Mizuki, you're too miserable in the parallel world. You've fallen to the point of being thrown into prison. However, Shueimu was in a trance. If I hadn't met Shushi, I might have been imprisoned for stealing the scroll of seals. I might have even been drained of my vitality and died of old age just like in the parallel universe. Sure enough, my life changed because of Garashi. Thinking of this, Shueimu looked at Shueisha with a burning gaze. Seeing Mizuki ignoring him, Asuma patted Naruto's shoulder, feeling bored. Tell him, how was I doing in your world? Naruto snapped out of his daze and looked at Asuma. His lips trembled as he said, You're dead. Did you hear that? I died in that world. The smile on Asuma's face suddenly froze and he squinted at Naruto. He suspected that this bastard was targeting him, but he had no evidence. Asuma looked at Yamato again and Yamato nodded sadly. Senpai, you died miserably. Asuma couldn't help but be silent. Although it was a parallel world, it gave him an inexplicable sense of oppression. The old man in that world must be very sad. But fortunately, at least he has Big Brother to support him in his old age. Naruto hesitated and said, They died before you. Asuma's eyes widened. His whole family died. Wasn't he too miserable in that world? Hearing this, the fear of the unknown made him a little breathless. Garashi asked, Can you tell me about my Jinchuriki in that world? Naruto thought hard for a moment, then shook his head. Never heard of it. This time, everyone couldn't believe it. How is that possible? Even in the parallel world, a person like Garashi can't be unknown. There must be something wrong. Yamato said in a deep voice, I really haven't heard of it, maybe? Seeing that Yamato didn't say anything, Garashi took the initiative to continue. Maybe the Jinchuriki in that world died a long time ago. It's not surprising that anything happens in this world. After saying that, Garashi pressed Mizuki and Asuma's shoulders and smiled freely. See, the Jinchuriki in the parallel world is even more miserable than you. The future has already changed. Don't be disturbed by this kind of thing that can't happen again. Hearing Garashi's words, Asuma smiled embarrassedly. That's right. Without Garashi, your future can't be trusted at all. This Garashi-senpai's mentality is really good. Hearing this kind of thing, he can... No, he's the first person to propose the parallel universe conjecture. He should have noticed my performance long ago. Yamato's expression became more and more shocked. So, he actually guessed his ending in our world and deliberately said it so that Asuma-senpai and Mizuki-senpai would no longer be troubled. He's really a warm person like the sun. That's right. It's better not to add trouble to the people in this world. Naruto originally planned to explain the threats in the future to everyone, but after seeing this scene he couldn't help but fall silent. It's already a different future. Saying it would only add trouble to Asuma-senpai like before. At this time, Sarah, who had been ignored, finally exploded. I say, what are you guys doing here, you strange guys? What future, what parallel universe? I've had enough. Seeing Sarah turning around to leave, Garashi reached out and stopped her. Your Majesty, please give me a minute to explain. I don't want to listen to your explanation. Sarah was about to push the people in front of her away, but after seeing Garashi's apologetic face she hesitated. You don't look like a bad person. Then I'll give you a minute. Naruto looked at her with a confused expression, touching the face that was slapped by Sarah before. Do I look like a bad person? Asuma, who was very experienced in this, looked at him sideways. I don't know if you're a bad person or not, but look at Garashi, do you think he's a bad person? Looking at Garashi's affinity plus 999 smile, Naruto couldn't help but say in a trance, it doesn't seem like it. While they were talking, Garashi walked out of the shadows with Sarah and approached the laughing crowd. Your Majesty, please take a closer look at these people. Your Majesty? Your Majesty? Sarah, whose little face was hot, was called a few times before she recovered and said in a panic, Huh? What? Seeing this, Kurenai and Shizun both puffed up their cheeks. This Sarah is not a proper queen at first glance. Garashi pointed to the surrounding crowd. Go and look at their faces. Look at their faces? Although puzzled, Sarah obediently walked to the front. Then she was frightened by the scene in front of her and took a few steps back. Ah! What's going on? How can they be puppets? On the cheerful street, the seemingly lively crowd was actually all puppets. This strange scene made her feel a little scared. Garashi said in a deep voice, "This is the truth hidden under Roran's prosperous appearance. All the prosperity is deliberately put on by Minister and Lushan for you to see. The real people of this country are either hiding or caught by Lushan to work as coolies for his puppet army." Chapter 220. Hearing this, Sarah still couldn't believe it. Impossible. And Lushan is my most trusted minister. He would never do such a thing. There must be some misunderstanding. It must be. Garashi looked into her eyes. The truth won't be changed. It just depends on whether you have the courage to dig out the truth. After a moment of silence, Sarah waved her small fist. Tell me what to do. I will prove that Lushan is innocent. Garashi said calmly. Lushan is using the power of the dragon vein to create a puppet army. So, as long as we find the place closest to the dragon vein, the truth will be revealed. Sarah nodded. I understand. I'll take you there now. Before that, we have to make some preparations. Once Lushan's conspiracy is exposed, the puppet army will soon cause a disaster for the people of this country. Although Sarah was unhappy, hearing that it was for the sake of the people, she could only sulk. Then what do you think we should do? Garashi said. I need a map of Roran so that we can find the hiding people as soon as possible and guide them to take refuge. The map is in my palace. Follow me. Soon, everyone arrived at the palace under Sarah's guidance. Sarah found the map and handed it to Garashi. I'll have to trouble you to wait for a few minutes. With that, Garashi sat down cross-legged. What's this for? Naruto asked curiously. Let me put it this way. This is the prerequisite for Garashi to use a certain technique. Asuma explained. After using that technique, Garashi can sense the entire situation of Roran. Yamato gasped. The range of his perception is so wide. It didn't take long for him to enter Sage mode. After that, Garashi circled a few locations on the map. Kurenai, Shizen, take people to these places to protect the people of Roran. Kurenai solemnly took the map. I understand. Then Garashi looked at Sarah. Your Majesty, I'll have to trouble you to take us to. At this time, Naruto suddenly raised his hand and said, Brother Garashi, can't you use this jutsu to sense the enemy's position? Garashi shook his head gently. The dragon vein chakra is too big, it has covered up his chakra. Naruto nodded thoughtfully and raised his hand. Can you take us with you? That Enlushan is probably the Baizu we're looking for. Although we transmigrated at the same time, he seems to have arrived 6 years earlier than us. Asuma frowned and looked over. Can you guys do it? It's very dangerous. Naruto argued. Don't underestimate us, we're very powerful. Garashi smiled and said, bring them along. They should be good helpers. Naruto couldn't help but cheer. Yeah. Brother Garashi is the best. Garashi looked to the side. Your Majesty, please lead the way. Sarah nodded vigorously. Come with me. On the way, Naruto couldn't help but ask, Asuma, Sensei, is Brother Garashi really not that kind of young senpai? Of course not. Garashi and I entered the school at the same time. Asuma's mouth twitched slightly. Also, can you not call me Sensei? You look older than me. But it seems disrespectful to call you by your name. After all, in my heart, you're already dead, Asuma Sensei. Can you not mention it? Forget it, call me whatever you want. Naruto became excited again and asked, Asuma, Sensei, did Brother Garashi really become a jonin at such a young age? In our world, Kakashi, Sensei became a jonin at the age of 12. Kakashi is as dazzling as here. Asuma whispered, then said, although Garashi also became a jonin at the age of 12, the significance of the two is completely different. Hearing that it was related to Kakashi, Yamato couldn't help but gossip. Why do you say that? Garashi could have graduated from the ninja school very early, but in order to take care of his classmates, he deliberately delayed graduation until the last year. Asuma said, then Garashi graduated at the age of 10, passed the Chunin exam half a year later, and became a jonin after another year and a half. From a genin to a jonin in 2 years? Asuma was shocked. Amazing, I graduated from the ninja school at the age of 12. Naruto was also surprised. Asuma squinted at him. What's the matter with this little brother? Graduated at the age of 12, is he repeating a grade? Naruto smirked and touched his head. But it seems that Gaara is more powerful. He became a Kage from a genin in 3 years. Puff. This time it was Asuma's turn to be shocked. From a genin to a Kage in 3 years? Did he pacify the shinobi world war or protect world peace? Naruto was a little dumbfounded. Did Gaara have any great achievements? Although he protected the sand crypsis from being destroyed, that's only after he became a Kage. Seeing that Naruto was speechless, Asuma spoke up for Garashi. Garashi's medical scroll saved thousands of ninjas. He defeated the AB brothers on the battlefield of Yunin, eliminated the 7 ninja swordsmen on the battlefield of Kirin, defeated the demigod Hanzo on the battlefield of Hidden Rain, and forced the Tsuchikage to stay in the village on the battlefield of Rock Crypsis. He's a hero recognized by everyone in the village. Such achievements can't even be a Kage. The Kage in your world is too cheap. Naruto and Yamato swallowed hard. They only felt that today's shock was more than the previous year. All these achievements were inhuman. When they thought of Shushi's age, they felt that they had been living like dogs all this time. Naruto looked at Garashi's back with incomparable admiration and envy, thinking to himself, Garashi's age is really amazing. A hero? I also want to be recognized as a hero by everyone. Yamato sighed. Why didn't Garashi-senpai in our world discover him? If Garashi-senpai could live to our era, the Akatsuki is not worth mentioning at all. Shocked, Yamato suddenly remembered something. Asuma, senpai, what is the medical scroll you just mentioned? It's a scroll that seals medical ninjutsu. Asuma explained. You can understand it's equivalent to carrying a medical ninja with you. It's much more useful than blood-increasing pill. Hearing this, Yamato and Naruto's eyes lit up. There was an undercurrent surging in their world. If they had this, the casualties would be greatly reduced. Thinking of this, the two hurriedly rushed to the front and said, Garashi, senpai, can you teach us how to make medical scrolls? Of course, but... Garashi looked at them with a smile. Do you know sealing and medical ninjutsu? The two were instantly dumbfounded. Sakura knew medical ninjutsu, Sasai knew sealing, but the problem was that both of them stayed in their world. Chapter 221. Along the way, everyone came to the exhaust port that connected the town's entire Ryumayaku flow convergence point. This is it. Sarah removed the well cover and pointed to the well with a serious expression. This is the Ryumayaku convergence point. I'll go in and check the situation first. After saying that, Garashi jumped down from the well. Below, white mist filled the air, and steam rose as if they were in a steamer, giving the feeling of a huge factory. After finding that there was no danger around, Garashi stepped on the wall of the well to inform them. Everyone descended along the direction of the steam. After jumping down 5 floors in a row, they finally saw the appearance of the base at the end. In the middle was a huge boiler, pushed by a group of slaves with shackles on their feet. The white mist that filled the surrounding space was floating and escaping from the boiler. There were also puppets, which were being produced in an assembly line around the boiler. After seeing this scene, Sarah excitedly grabbed the railing. Why is this happening? Everyone was really caught. Garashi said in a deep voice. It's a pity, but this is the truth. Sarah looked at Garashi and bowed seriously. I'm sorry, I'm too stupid. Although I'm sorry, please help me save everyone. Don't worry, this is our purpose. Garashi smiled and bit his finger to form a seal. Summoning jutsu. The next moment, a medium-sized slug appeared behind everyone. Slug, I'll have to trouble you to split again. I got it. Looking at the slug, Naruto said to himself. Isn't this the summoning beast of Sakura and Tsunade Grandma? Asuma glanced at him. Garashi is Tsunade-sama's disciple. Tsunade Grandma's disciple. Naruto couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity that Sakura didn't come. Otherwise, I could see the senpai of this world. As he spoke, Shushi asked everyone to bring along a few small slugs. Later, I will seal off the puppet soldiers that are guarding the place. You guys take the opportunity to save the people. The people who are in poor health will be given priority to the slugs for emergency treatment. As for Queen Sarah, you will be responsible for explaining to the people. I understand. Everyone nodded. Only Naruto was still wondering how to seal the operation. Garashi quickly formed a seal and pressed his right hand on the ground. Ice escape, Ice Age. With Garashi's palm as the center, a layer of ice that emitted biting cold air quickly spread out. In the blink of an eye, the entire base was sealed in ice. Only the area where the people were was still in its original state. So powerful. Yamato and Naruto were shocked by this scene. Although they had been instilled with the idea that Garashi was very powerful, they had not seen it with their own eyes. It was hard to imagine what kind of concept it was. The scene of Garashi freezing the base in an instant showed how powerful he was. As for Sarah, she was even more shocked. After all, she didn't understand the meaning of the previous conversation, but the scene in front of her was very easy to understand. Looking at Garashi, Sarah muttered to herself, "Are the ninjas of the outside world so powerful?" Seeing Naruto's shocked expression, Asuma couldn't help but tease him. Surprised? Garashi froze the sea a year ago. Froze the sea? Naruto's eyes twinkled. He couldn't help but think that if Brother Garashi was there when they captured the Sanbai, it would have been very easy. "Don't waste time, hurry up," Garashi said and took the initiative to jump toward the front of the platform. There a fat man was roaring. "Who the hell is it? Who dares to ruin my plan?" Lushan was furious, but suddenly a cold light flashed. What is that?" "Kacha." Before he could finish his words, Lushan's body was cut in half. Garashi, holding a kunai, slowly stood up from the position behind him. He's dead?" Naruto, who was rescuing the people, couldn't believe it. Wasn't this too fast? Minister Lushan. Sarah was a little sad, but the next moment she looked at Lushan in horror. What's going on? In her sight, Lushan, who had been cut in two, came back to life, and his body was connected by the chakra thread. Idiot, I've already transformed my body into a puppet, and where the dragon veins gather, my power is infinite. No matter how many times you break me, I can regenerate. Before he could finish, he was directly shattered by Garashi's Rasengan. But soon the fragments were reassembled as he said. "Idiot, do you not understand human language? I said my power in Rorin is infinite." Not only that, but the frozen puppets around him also broke out of the ice and fused into his body, finally turning into a super gigantic combined body puppet beast. See, this is the power of the dragon veins. After mastering this power, I can easily destroy the 5 major countries. Yamato was in disbelief. The little guy they chased had nowhere to escape to become so strong. Hyakuga, this guy, damn it. Hearing Hyakuga say that he had the power to destroy the 5 major countries, Naruto believed it and subconsciously used the multiple shadow clone jutsu. "Brother Garashi, I'll help you." Asuma hurriedly pulled him back. "Don't go and cause trouble. This level of power is not worth mentioning to Garashi." Naruto scratched his head in confusion. But didn't Hyakuga say that this is the power to destroy the 5 major countries? Asuma rolled his eyes. "You believe what he said?" In the field, Garashi jumped up and kicked the head of the giant puppet. There was a loud boom. The platform holding the puppet collapsed instantly, and the giant puppet Lushan turned into was directly embedded in the ground. Seeing this, Naruto instinctively shivered. So scary, Brother Garashi is even more violent than Sakura. I'm angry. The giant puppet recovered and stood up from the ground with a roar. Garashi pressed the puppet's head and punched it, nailing it to the ground like a nail. "Even if you're angry, lie down. Bastard. I'm going to kill." Boom. Damn it, boom. This guy's recovery ability seemed more frightening than Sasori's, but to Garashi, the threat of the two was not on the same level. A third-rate puppet master who relied on Ryumayaku chakra to infinitely increase the power of the puppet. He had no exquisite mechanism, no fierce poison, no trump card, and couldn't even control his own strength well. Such an enemy was nothing to be afraid of. If Sasori had this unlimited Ryumayaku chakra, he would have a headache. "Your Majesty, Queen Sarah." Watching Shushi beat up the puppet that was dozens of times bigger than him, Sala's eyes gradually glazed over. She didn't react until Shushi called her several times. "I'm here. Although this guy is weak, infinite recovery is troublesome. So, please temporarily close the Ryumayaku spring." "Yes, I understand." Chapter 222. Seeing Mizu being beaten and Sarah going to turn off the Ryumayaku source, Naruto was at a loss for a while. "That's it? Isn't this mission too simple?" Asuma said calmly. "It's mostly like this when you come out with Garashi. You'll get used to it." Naruto shook his head hesitantly. "According to my previous experience, there will be twists and turns at the last moment." Asuma waved his hand. "How is this possible? You think you're..." Boom? A beam of light from above the surface pierced through the top, and then, under Sarah's stunned and frightened gaze, it swallowed her whole. Seeing this scene, Naruto couldn't believe it and roared, "Sir!" At the same time, a huge monster with wings on its back slowly flew down from the big hole on the top. Don't even think about turning off the Ryumyaku source. Hey, what's that? Wu Jing fell from the sky with a pose. When he saw the familiar energy ball coming towards him, he was so scared that he fled in a sorry state. Then he easily dodged the attack. I've become stronger? Just when Satoshi was feeling complacent, he found that the person who jumped up to attack him and fell down was a yellow-haired kid. I was wondering why the kid suddenly became weak. However, to use the same move as him, it really makes me unhappy. Terrifying energy fluctuations gathered in Satoshi's mouth, and in the next moment, a purple-black energy ball shot towards Naruto, who had nowhere to go. Not good, Mokutan. Great forest jutsu. Yamato's arm stretched out many vine branches in an instant and pushed Naruto, who had no time to dodge. Seeing this scene, Asuma and the others were incomparably shocked. What? Mokutan? This silly uncle can actually use Mokutan. But after the surprise, they were a little surprised. The legendary powerful force that calms the troubled world is used to push people away? Naruto was pushed to the wall, and with the recoil he jumped towards the monster in the air. However, this level of attack didn't have any effect on Satoshi. Satoshi just flapped his wings casually and easily dodged. You're really weak and helpless, Satoru said as he suddenly became spirited and observed Naruto seriously. There seems to be a huge amount of chakra in your body. Naruto landed on the ground again and roared furiously. Bastard who killed Sarah, I will never forgive you. At this moment, Sarah's weak voice sounded from afar. Well, I'm not dead. Naruto froze for a moment and turned his head. He saw Garashi suppressing the huge puppet with one hand and holding Sarera under his arm with the other. What's going on? Seeing that Naruto was distracted in the battle, Wu naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. While avoiding Yamato's attack, he accelerated and glided towards Naruto. What's going on with that Spacetime Jr.? Where is the basic quality of a ninja? Sighing, Asuma quickly formed hand seals, fire release, ash accumulation. The thick gray fog drifted towards Wu mixed with sparks. It was as if a breath of air could make the flames spread rapidly. Such a large-scale attack forced Wu to have no way to hide, so he flapped his wings and flew into the sky. Let my youth ignite this flame, Yoho. Guy stepped on the beam and jumped into the air, jumped above Wu and then spun and kicked down. Reading Guy's action in advance, Wu dodged to the side subconsciously. However, the smoke and dust below him were stirred up by the hurricane kicked by Guy, and a huge wave of flames instantly jumped out dozens of meters high. It's a good cooperation, but it's just a flame. Wu crossed his wings in front of him and was about to blow the flame out with a gust of wind. But at this moment, a katana kept spinning and slashing towards him. If he spread his wings at this time, it seemed that he would be hit by the katana. Good timing. Wu didn't panic and even had time to comment in his heart. But it doesn't mean anything to Kami, who has already seen through everything. As he spread his wings, a light wave shot out from his mouth. The wind carried the flames and raged in the base. The katana was bounced off by the light wave and directly broke a beam. Half of the underground base collapsed, and flames and explosions were everywhere. Help. Run away. The people who were caught for hard labor cried and fled. What a tacit cooperation. Yamato saved people while admiring in his heart. But what's the matter with this monster? How can it escape like this? Everyone is amazing. Worthy of the seniors when they were young. Seeing that the seniors and enemies of this time and space came to help him, Naruto was excited. Great, let's beat it together. However, Asuma poured cold water on him. You think too much, this monster is not something we can deal with. Guy agreed. Even the two Jinchuriki of Tsuchikage and Rock Crypsis couldn't kill it. It's good that we can force it to retreat. Yamato turned his head in disbelief. The Tsuchikage and two Jinchuriki couldn't kill it, then isn't this monster invincible? Gaga laughed. Wait until I swallow this kid, then I'll swallow the Ryumayaku. That's the real. Before his voice fell, he was blasted away by Garashi's Otama Rasengan. Mizuki shouted fanatically. See? Only Garashi will never fail. Garashi fell from the air and put down Sarah, whose cheeks were still red. This place is about to collapse. Hurry up and take Queen Sarah and these people out. Also, I'll leave that puppet monster to you. Hearing that he finally didn't have to do nothing, Naruto was excited. Garashi Dage, don't worry, we will definitely defeat that monster. At this time, Goku flapped his wings and flew up again. You bastard, don't you know it hurts? Yamato looked at the sky in surprise. What's the matter with this monster? It recovered so quickly after suffering that kind of attack. Asuma said in a deep voice. Its two most powerful characteristics are mind reading and self-healing. The former allows it to avoid most attacks, and the latter gives it a chance to start again. Goku laughed strangely. I admit that you're very strong, but a low-level creature is a low-level creature. You don't even have wings. Let's see how you can hit me. As soon as it finished speaking, it was sent flying by Shushi, who had teleported over. Goku roared in pain and struggled to stand up. What's going on? Why do you think I wanted to see you show off before? Garashi smiled and turned the kunai in his hand. Imprinting the Flying Thunder God Jutsu means you can never escape from my sight. It turns out that Queen Sarah was saved because of the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Yamato was shocked and muttered to himself. Wait, developing Rasengan and using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu? Is the name Garashi just a code name, and his real identity is actually Naruto's father? But the age doesn't seem to match. Is it because of the space-time disturbance? Thinking of this, Yamato couldn't help but ask. Who do you think is the most likely person to become the fourth generation in your spacetime? Mizuki shouted fanatically, of course it's Garashi. Ding dong. Yamato was so scared that his kunai fell to the ground. Chapter 223. Hearing Garashi's words, Satoru panicked. After sensing the condition of his body, he roared madly. Not only his wings, but more than a dozen parts of his body were marked by the Flying Thunder God. He was still thinking about whether to break his wings to survive. But now, unless he broke his whole body, it would be impossible to escape from Garashi's control. Thinking of this, Satoru angrily shot an energy cannon at Garashi. Go to hell. Your heart seems to be in a mess. It's really sad. A monster that can read people's hearts can't control his own heart. Garashi stood in place without dodging. When the energy cannon was about to swallow him, he raised his hand and opened a space-time barrier. The next moment, the energy cannon appeared directly behind Satoru. A roar sounded. Terrifying energy fluctuations swayed in all directions. Satoru was hit hard and fell to the ground. Garashi naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He teleported and grabbed Satoru's tail and beat him wildly. Seeing this, Naruto couldn't help but sweat a few drops of cold sweat. In his heart, he raised the danger level of Garashi by several levels. How is this more terrifying than Sakura? It's more terrifying than Tsunade. At this time, Lushan, who was beaten to the point of doubting his life, quickly slipped away. He jumped to the ground and quickly ran away. Fuck the destruction of the 5 major countries. He just wanted to find a place to be quiet. However, Naruto and the others wouldn't let him go. Captain Yamato, stop him. Understood. Mokutan, tree burial eternal bind. The frantically growing trees tied up the giant puppet like a dumpling. But in the next moment, a few beams of light shot out from the gaps between the vines, blooming with dazzling light and directly destroying the tree prison. Although it was very short, it was enough for them to catch up. Since you won't let me go, then die. The giant puppet roared fiercely, picked up the tower next to it, and used it as a weapon to sweep at them. So fierce? Yamato took a deep breath and began to form hand seals as fast as he could. Mokutan, tree world wall. The sea of trees rose from the ground and formed a wall in front of them. Taking advantage of the moment when the giant puppet's attack was blocked, Asuma hurriedly formed a seal and blew out flames to ignite the sea of trees. Shuei-mu, on the other hand, was standing vertically on the wall of a tall tower, blowing out a gust of wind at the raging flames in the sky. Wind escape, super breakthrough. The wind fanned the fire, and the flames quickly spread to the puppet's body. You bunch of despicable brats. The huge puppet twisted its body crazily, shooting out light beams from its mouth from time to time. You bastards, speak clearly. I'm not a little demon. No matter how you look at it, I should be a big demon. Yamato complained as he used wood release to add more fire to the puppet. Seeing this, Asuma and the others couldn't help but lower their evaluation of the wood style once again. So this wood escape technique of yours is used to make fire? Big Ghost. Bah, Captain Yamato, send me over. Understood. Yamato stretched out a vine from his palm, hooked Naruto's ankle and threw him away. Look at my Otama Rasengan. At this time, Guy ran all the way over. And my wood leaf whirlwind. The huge puppet was hit in the head by Naruto's kick, and it fell down with a bang. It's a great victory with the cooperation of Senpai. Naruto cheered, but before he could be happy for long, he saw the huge puppet's shattered head heal, and it stood up again. Idiot. I already said that this kind of attack is useless against me. And Lushan laughed loudly. Unless you can be like that monster and destroy faster than I can recover, this kind of attack will be useless no matter how many times you try. Saying this, he was still a little scared. That bastard looked violent and reckless, but in fact, every attack fell on his weak points. His eyesight and experience were not something these brats could compare to. If he didn't know that a normal puppet master only had 1 or 2 puppets, and that the entire San Crypsis puppet army couldn't produce much stock, he would have suspected that this bastard had dismantled the San Crypsis puppet army to get his experience. Yamato was dumbfounded. They couldn't destroy the puppet every few seconds like Garashi-senpai. Damn, this guy looks so weak, but he's so difficult to deal with. Naruto was depressed. When he saw the huge puppet being beaten up by Garashi, he thought that this puppet monster was very weak. The only way is to temporarily close the dragon vein. Mizuki looked at Sarah, his eyes cold. Can you do it? Sarah was worried about Rorin's loss, but she was caught off guard by Mizuki's cold eyes. Yes. Then hurry up, we'll stop him. Is this guy really Garashi-sama subordinate? He's as cold as ice. Sarah complained in her heart, but she still ran in the direction of the underground courtyard. At this time, Satoshi, who was being beaten up, noticed her inner fluctuation. Dragon vein? That's right, this is my only hope. After knowing that there was no way to get rid of Garashi, Satoshi was ready to risk everything. Only by swallowing this chakra can I have the hope of defeating this little devil. However, I can't expose my thoughts for the time being. When the queen takes me to the dragon vein, it'll be my final blow. Thinking of this, Satoshi endured the pain and let Garashi rub meatballs on his body. He pretended to be crazy and rushed toward Asuma and the others. Even if I can't live, I'll drag your companions to the grave with me. Unfortunately, you can't do anything. Garashi trapped Satoshi with a water prison jutsu and spat out a cold breath. The water prison instantly turned into an ice prison. Satoshi, who had just flown into the sky, turned into ice and fell back down. However, now is not the time to seal him. Although he temporarily restrained Satoshi, Garashi didn't intend to seal him. Just like in a game called Pokemon in his previous life, the Pokemon had to be beaten to a critical health point to be caught. Of course, if there was a Master Ball like the Yin and Yang force given by Hagoromo, he could naturally seal him at any time. But if there wasn't, it was better to be patient. On the other side, the few people who were beating in Lushan were shocked by the commotion caused by Satoshi. But before they started to worry, they saw the monster turn into an ice sculpture and fell down. They suddenly felt bored. But Lushan's attention was attracted by the ice sculpture. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I have to save him. Thinking of this, Lushan ignored the siege of Naruto and the others and opened his mouth to shoot a few light beams at the ice sculpture. The ice sculpture instantly shattered, and Satoshi, who was caught off guard, was blown away by the light beams. Only then did everyone realize that there was a big hole in the ground where the ice sculpture was originally. What's going on here? And Lushan was taken aback at first, but when he saw the hole in the ground, he suddenly understood. This monster should have been able to break out of the ice long ago, but it pretended not to wake up so that it could secretly dig a hole into the courtyard? Wait, didn't I ruin his plan? And Lushan looked up and happened to meet Satoshi's fierce eyes. He suddenly shrank his head in grievance. It's all a misunderstanding. Chapter 224. Seeing that its goal had been exposed, Wu no longer tried to hide it. It swung its 2 massive arms at the ground, and the ground that it had dug out instantly collapsed. The underground courtyard where the dragon vein node was gathered and Sarah, who was running toward it, were all exposed to Wu's senses. Mine, it's all mine. Wu shouted crazily and then prepared to dive down. Only the sealed home is yours. Shushi teleported to the top of its head and sent it flying with an Otama Rasengan. Boom. Wu's body plowed a long trench in the ground, and only after crashing into a tower did it stop sliding backward. Although pain surged through its body like a tide, Wu had no time to worry about it. Its attention was completely focused on the courtyard below. Damn it, it's going to be too late. Seeing that Sarah was already close to the courtyard, Wu roared. Ignoring the lesson of Garashi's long-range attacks, it fired several more energy balls. You really haven't learned your lesson. These little tricks are useless. Garashi opened a spacetime barrier and transferred all the energy balls to the flying thunder god symbol on Wu's back. Whoa. Several mushroom clouds exploded on Wu's back, and blood sprayed to the ground like fountains. However, its actions had given Lushan some inspiration. Rather than have Sarah close the dragon vein, it's better to let it go completely berserk. With this thought in mind, Lushan rushed to the edge of the cave while Yamato was unprepared. Not good. Stop him. Sarah, be careful. Although they had seen through Lushan's intentions, they did not have Garashi's overwhelming strength. With Lushan running at all costs, their ninjutsu could not stop him. Several energy beams pierced through the air and shot toward the dragon vein altar. Hearing the call from above, Sarah subconsciously looked up. The dazzling violet beam of light instantly arrived, and she instinctively dropped to the ground in fright. A moment later, the beam of light blasted the altar apart. How could this be? Sarah stared blankly at this sight, not knowing what to do. In front of her, the altar was like an erupting volcano. Materialized chakra gushed out crazily. Seeing that chakra was about to devour her, Garashi teleported her away from the center. At the same time, in another spacetime. What should we do? We lost Naruto and Captain Yamato. Sakura yelled frantically and punched the wall next to her, causing it to collapse. Sasai watched silently from the side. According to Naruto's warning, it's best not to interrupt when Sakura-san is angry, otherwise your life may be in danger. Although he didn't know if he was angry, his intuition told him that it was best not to talk. However, at this moment the dragon vein chakra that had calmed down suddenly went berserk. Like a tide of energy, the gushing chakra tide drowned Xiaoying. Sasai drew a bird in the clouds and planned to sit on the bird to pull Xiaoying back. However, the suction force of the chakra vortex was too strong and pulled him in with the bird. What's going on? The answer is obvious, we're going to be like Naruto and the others. The rampaging dragon vein chakra filled the entire Rorin, and Sata devoured the escaping chakra. It's wonderful, I didn't expect just some escaping chakra to be so delicious. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Yamato's face was full of self-blame. He was thinking about whether to tell Naruto about the father and son reunion. As a result, he was caught by Kyuzu. Guy excitedly cheered him up. Youth is fleeting, don't let your youth cry. Mizuki's voice was cold. We don't care. At worst, we'll fail the mission and retreat directly. But you, if you continue to mess around like this, be careful not to stay in our world forever. Hearing this, Yamato was alerted. Yes, Sakura and Sasai are still waiting for us. How can I let this kind of gossip occupy my mind? Thinking of this, Yamato solemnly replied. I understand, I will be more careful in the next battle. Hovering in the sky, Sata was still ecstatic. Even if it's just the chakra floating in the air, it's enough for me to replenish my energy. Haha, Woodleaf brat, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Sata shouted wantonly and shot more than a dozen energy balls at the broken altar, intending to make the dragon veins rampage more thorough. Below the altar. I'm sorry I couldn't do it. Being held by Garashi's arm, Sarah said in frustration. Don't worry, it's not your fault. Garashi was comforting her when he suddenly felt a strange fluctuation of chakra around him. Then he saw two ninjas sitting on the ink ninja beast flying out of the chakra vortex. They are Sakura, Sasai. Why are they here? Wait, does this mean that there is a fixed passage between the two worlds? Thinking of this possibility, Garashi couldn't calm down. Two worlds not only means that all the resources are divided, but it also means that he has more room for error. He didn't consider this problem before because the spacetime is not fixed. Just like Mizu and Naruto, they clearly transmigrated one after the other, but they were separated by 6 years. In a situation where the spacetime is not fixed, transmigration is a very dangerous thing. For example, as soon as he transmigrates, he will encounter infinite Tsukuyomi, or Otsutsuki Kagaya will launch world extermination. Even for him, such an event is too dangerous. Therefore, he has never thought of such a dangerous idea. Now there is a possibility of operation. However, it's still too early for me to do it now. Garashi temporarily put this thought to the back of his mind and looked at Sakura and Sasai, who were in a daze. Be careful, hide behind me. Ha! Sakura and Sasai were at a loss. After hearing Garashi's convincing tone, they subconsciously drove the flying bird to Garashi's side. Looking up, they found more than a dozen energy balls emitting terrifying fluctuations shooting towards them. What a powerful chakra! Sakura was shocked. The range of this sudden attack was too large, and it was impossible to dodge it in a short time. Garashi looked at the sky calmly. This idiot, Does she think that I can't deal with it because there are so many of them? Multiple shadow clone technique. Flying thunder god technique. The summoned doppelgangers jumped toward the energy balls. The moment they came into contact with the energy balls were all transferred to them. Satoshi silently looked at the dozen clones that suddenly appeared below. I got carried away, I was too careless. A terrifying energy fluctuation erupted above, stirring up a strong wind that shook the two people riding on the flying bird violently. Too powerful. Sakura stabilized her body and looked up in surprise. Isn't this the legendary flying thunder god technique of Yandame-sama? Chapter 225. This ninja who looks about the same age as us, actually knows the flying thunder god jutsu. Sakura subconsciously looked at Garashi's side face. Also, why do I feel that he's more handsome than Sasuke? It must be an illusion. At this time, Garashi suddenly asked, "Are you Sakura and Sasai mentioned by Naruto?" Hearing Naruto's name, the two suddenly felt refreshed. You've seen Naruto? By the way, where is this place? Simply put, this is the parallel universe of your world 20 years ago. Garashi said concisely. 20 years ago? Parallel universe? The two were dizzy. This wasn't simple at all. As for Naruto, he's up there. After that, Garashi used the flying thunder god jutsu to bring Sarah up. Although they didn't understand the situation, hearing that Naruto was up there, the two didn't hesitate and hurriedly drove the bird to follow. After the Ryumayaku's power went berserk, the battle on the ground became more and more stalemate. The giant puppet and Satori could use the Ryumayaku chakra, but Naruto and the others couldn't absorb it. Under this situation, the battle situation changed a little. The Ryumayaku began to go berserk. With Sarah's strength, she can't even get close to the Ryumayaku. That is to say, you have no possibility of closing the Ryumayaku. And Lushan laughed wildly. Insignificant insects in front of this uncle's puppet army? So noisy. Sakura rushed. There was a flash of pink light. It was Xiaoying who had jumped off the flying bird. With a heavy punch, she had knocked down the giant puppet. It's Sakura? Cough, Sakura is too powerful. Naruto cheered. After knocking down the puppet, Sakura fell beside Naruto. Naruto, what's going on? I don't know how to say it, but in short. Naruto and Guy looked at each other and smiled, giving each other a thumbs up. It feels good to fight side by side with Senpai when we were young. Sakura followed Naruto's gaze and was shocked. Thick eyebrows sensei, Asuma sensei and Mizuki sensei. Mizuki looked at her with a cold face. Don't talk nonsense, that guy is going to get up again. Get up. Sakura was confused, and then she saw the giant puppet she knocked down stand up again. Bastard. How dare you lie to me? And Lushan was infuriated. If not for the fact that this man's attack was so similar to that little ghost's, he wouldn't have been so frightened. Die. Naruto explained while dodging the puppet's attack. This puppet can regenerate indefinitely. What? Unlimited regeneration? Xiaoying said in shock. You're fighting such a monster? Actually, this monster is already relatively weak. When Garashi Dage fought with it, the speed of destruction was faster than the speed of its regeneration. Naruto said half shyly and half admiringly. Brother Garashi? Is that the handsome ninja who used Flying Thunder God to divert the attack? Xiaoying was secretly shocked. I didn't expect his attack to be so powerful. Brother Garashi is super powerful. Naruto nodded heavily and added, by the way, he's also Tsunade Grandma's disciple. But I've never heard of him. At this time, Xiaoying finally understood the meaning of Garashi's words. Parallel universe? On the other side, after Garashi put Sarah down, he once again faced Satoshi after his self-healing. You are indeed very powerful. Even in my long life there are few people stronger than you. But in the end you can't get rid of the limitations of species. Your fragile human body can't bear the power of nature. In this case you can't win against me who can absorb Ryumayaku chakra. Satoshi said. Why don't you merge with the darkness and let me transform you into... However, Garashi smiled gently. Sorry, I can also use Ryumayaku chakra. Ryumayaku chakra was equivalent to refining Senjutsu chakra, which meant that using Ryumayaku chakra could save him the refining process. After saying that, Garashi directly entered the complete form of Sage mode. Satoshi was so shocked that his jaw almost fell to the ground. He wanted to say, how can you, a human? But when the words came to his mouth, he was confused. Is this wood leaf brat really a human? Feeling the endless power in his body, Garashi couldn't help but sigh. Since I learned Sage Mode, this is the first time I have such abundant Senjutsu chakra. Finally, I can fight with all my might. A person who had to be careful with every dollar suddenly received a huge sum of trillions of dollars. He always had some extravagant thoughts. Senjutsu, tenfold Super Jade Rasengan. Looking at the small sun held by Garashi, Satoshi suddenly had the urge to swear. But before he could turn his impulse into action, Garashi teleported behind him and threw a nuclear bomb. Boom. The wind, which was comparable to a Category 12 typhoon, wreaked havoc in the town. The tall towers that stood on the ground were like toys piled up by building blocks. When the wind blew, they were easily broken and sent flying. The people fleeing from Enlushan's attack were caught off guard and sent flying by the shockwave. As for the giant puppet, it was left with countless wounds. Even this can affect me? Enlushan was confused. Cough cough. Xiao Ying, who had crawled out of the ruins covered in dust, looked at the tall figure standing in the storm in shock. This kind of attack power is too much. Even a tailed beast can't do this. Thinking of this, a discordant thought arose in her mind. Did Tsunade-sensei leave something behind for me? This is too exaggerated. Is this still a ninja? Yamato's mouth twitched. He finally understood why the seniors said that tailed beasts were no different from kittens in front of Garashi. Even Garashi sighed. Under normal circumstances, the amount of Senjutsu chakra I refined in one go isn't enough. However, it was indeed very satisfying. Satoshi's body was a bloody mess and his eyes were spinning. He had clearly been struck dumb by this wave of attacks. What do I feel? After the dragon vein went berserk, his strength improved even more than mine? Just as Satoshi was doubting his fate, he suddenly realized that Garashi had raised another son. Again? Wait, I admit. Boom. With a thunderous boom, another shockwave swept over. The ravaged earth was baptized by the flames of war once more, as if it was the end of the world. A massive crater with a diameter of more than 100 meters appeared in the center. Satoshi, who had lost a wing, lay in the crater, his life or death unknown. Even so, Garashi did not let down his guard. Senjutsu, ice release, ice coffin. After sealing Satoshi's body in the ice chest, Garashi took out a scroll and sealed it. Chapter 226. The sight of Garashi defeating Wu so easily left them rather confused. If they had known that it would be so easy, they would have detonated the dragon vein. But when they saw the once prosperous Lu Lan reduced to a wretched post-war ruin, they could not bring themselves to think about it. The price of defeating Wu so quickly was far too heavy. While everyone was distracted by Wu, the rear door of the giant puppet opened, and a small puppet slipped out. But before this small puppet could take more than a few steps, Garashi threw a stream of cold energy at it and froze it. Seeing Garashi's actions, the others finally understood what was going on. That scoundrel Baizu was trying to escape. Fortunately, Big Brother Garashi noticed what he was doing. Garashi couldn't help but chuckle. If he hadn't left the puppet armor, I would have had to use some other methods to defeat him. This is good. At least we won't have to suffer more losses. The others nodded in agreement as they looked at the wretched state around them. Indeed, if Garashi had attacked a few more times, Lu Lan would have been more or less finished. In short, this can be considered a happy ending. That's right. After a bitter battle? It should be considered a bitter battle, right? This matter is not over yet. Garashi shook his head and began to walk toward the distant refuge of the Lu Lan people. When Sarah and the other laborers saw Shushi walking toward them, they excitedly went up to greet him. Lord Garashi, thank you so much. You are our savior. Although Garashi's battle with the enemy had destroyed a small portion of Lu Lan, they did not care, because that prosperity had always been fake. The only thing that truly belonged to them was the dark life of slave labor in the prison. Garashi had helped them destroy this nightmare, and they could not thank him enough. Of course, this did not mean that everyone's interests had not been harmed. As the queen, Sala's losses had been rather severe. But she had always felt guilty about being deceived by Enlushan, so she naturally wouldn't blame Shushi. Hence, when she saw Garashi walking towards her, Sarah bowed solemnly and thanked him. Thank you so much. Lu Lan will definitely. It's still too early to say that. The crisis hasn't been resolved yet. Garashi said with a solemn expression. There's still danger? Sarah was a little flustered. Garashi pondered and said, the dragon vein is too active now. If we don't take action, it may maintain this state for a long time in the future. And this lively chakra is as tempting to ambitious schemers like in Lushan or monsters like Wu as blood is to sharks. Sarah and the people panicked when they heard that they might continue to attract ambitious people and monsters. They did not want to repeat today's nightmare. Then what should we do? Lord Garashi, please save us. Garashi looked at Sarah with a determined gaze. The only way is to completely shut down the dragon vein. Completely shut down the dragon vein? Sala was somewhat hesitant. Lulan's prosperity had been built on the dragon vein. But today's events had given her too much of a shock. Whether it was in Lushan imprisoning the people to create puppets or a massive monster suddenly seizing the dragon vein, she had understood one principle. Wealth beyond one's ability would only bring disaster. Without enough strength, the dragon vein was not wealth. On the contrary, it was the source of a nightmare that brought disaster to them. With this thought in mind, Sala firmly said, "I'll listen to you." Hearing Sarah's decision, the refugees behind her did not show any dissatisfaction. Instead, they heaved a long sigh of relief. At the start, they had enjoyed the convenience of the dragon vein, but after years of hard labor, they had not only hated in Lushan, but also the dragon vein that had brought them so much suffering. And when they saw that massive monster and realized that in Lushan was not the only villain coveting the dragon vein, their resistance to the dragon vein reached an extreme. It was best to shut down this harmful thing as soon as possible. In the future they would have to rely on their own hands to create wealth. But how do we do it? Sala hesitated. The chakra of the dragon vein is currently rampaging. I can't even get close. If you trust me, please teach me how to control the dragon vein. While shutting down the dragon vein, let me place a seal on it. Garashi said with a sincere gaze. This way, in the future, anyone who wants to take the dragon vein will have to undo my seal first. You're the hero who saved Lulan. Of course I trust you. Sala bit her lip. But isn't this too dangerous? If we're not careful, we might be transported to another space-time dimension. Don't worry. I've been surrounded by enemies countless times. Even the strongest ninjas couldn't kill me. What's a place with space-time fluctuations? Shushi smiled. Don't worry. I've been through countless dangerous situations. Even the strongest ninjas couldn't kill me. What a reliable man. Hearing the strong confidence in Garashi's words, Sala couldn't help but compare him to An Lushan, whom she used to worship. Then she realized that the two of them couldn't be compared at all. One was the liar who deceived her, ugly and weak. The other was the hero who saved Lulan, handsome and strong. All right, follow me. Walking to a quiet and remote corner, Sala taught Garashi how to control the dragon vein. It wasn't difficult. Even an ordinary person like Sala could do it, so naturally, it wasn't difficult for Garashi. But it wasn't easy either. Other than the technique, there was also the contract between the Queen of Lulan's bloodline and the dragon vein. Seeing Garashi frowning, Sala took off the pendant on her chest carefully. Then, she looked away and handed the pendant over with a guilty conscience. Use this to summon the dragon vein. As a reward for saving Lulan, I'll give this to you. Garashi was slightly taken aback, but he accepted it with a smile. Thank you. I'll seal the dragon vein as soon as possible. With that, he walked out under Sala's reluctant gaze. At this moment in the central area, Naruto was exaggeratedly describing the news he had heard before to Sakura Sakai. When Garashi walked over, Sakura looked at him with admiration. Wow. Senior brother, you're so amazing. Compared to you, I'm so bad. Suppressing the bijou, calming the war, healing the divine hand with Leaf Hero, these weren't achievements that a human should have. Hearing this, she was ashamed. They were both Tsunade-sensei's disciples, but why was the gap between them so big? She even felt a little lucky. Fortunately, she wasn't from this time and space. Otherwise, with senior brother as a comparison, she wouldn't even be a defective product. Garashi smiled gently. Don't belittle yourself. I heard from Naruto that you've only been sensei's disciple for 3 years, right? I learned a few more years than you to reach this level. As long as you work hard, I believe you can do better than me. Chapter 227. Senpai is so gentle. Thinking of Tsunade-sensei's usual strictness, Sakura's mind rebelled again. If only we had senpai in our universe, then I wouldn't have to worry about being scolded when I ask senpai questions. That's right. Naruto clapped his hands and looked at Garashi eagerly. Garashi Dage, we now have people who know medical ninjutsu and sealing techniques. Can you teach us how to make medical scrolls? Of course, but... Garashi smiled and nodded slightly, and then his face suddenly became dignified. Before that, there's a problem that needs to be figured out first. What's the problem? Naruto wondered. Garashi looked at Sakura and asked, how long has it been since Naruto and the others disappeared and you were involved in this? Sakura's index finger gently tapped her chin. It should be a few seconds. In short, it's very short. Hearing her say this, Naruto waved his hands in disbelief. How is that possible? Captain Yamato and I have been here for a long time. Sakura directly showed her fist. Do you think I can't even tell the time? Naruto was scared in a second. How could it be? I just feel a little strange. There is a problem with the flow of time, but it's the opposite of what I hoped. Garashi sighed secretly. If a few seconds here is equivalent to a day in the original universe, then he will go to Naruto's side and stay there for 100 years until he becomes invincible. Seeing the two's doubts, Garashi smiled and explained. It's because of the flow of time. Half a day has passed here, but only a few seconds have passed in your universe. That's good. With this difference in the flow of time, even if you learn from me for a few days, it won't affect your universe too much when you go back. Hearing Garashi's words, Xiaoying and the others looked at Garashi with admiration. They thought to themselves that Senior Garashi was really too reliable. He was clearly the one who was being freeloaded, but he had even considered such details for them. With that, Garashi turned to look at Asuma and the others. You guys go back and report to Lord Naruto about Wu. I'll stay here for a few days and teach them this technique before going back. Asuma frowned. You're the commander of the Allied army. Is it really okay for you to stay here alone? Garashi smiled and said, don't worry, Wu has been dealt with by me. Next, with or without me there won't be much difference. With Inoki's character, he should give up his final fantasy unconditionally. Naruto couldn't help but interrupt. Wait, what's the commander-in-chief of the Allied forces? Mizuki explained enthusiastically, we are currently in the midst of a great ninja war, and Garashi is the commander of Woodleaf and San Crypsis' allied forces. The commander of the two major ninja villages? Yamato's eyes almost popped out. Although he had been shocked many times, he still couldn't help but feel a lack of oxygen in his brain when he heard this news. You know, this kind of thing can no longer be explained by strength alone, especially the involvement of San Crypsis, which made him even more confused. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but ask, San Crypsis agreed to this kind of thing? Asuma smiled and said, you don't know this, but this proposal was originally proposed by San Crypsis. Yamato was dumbfounded. Is this space-time so harmonious? You are not from our world. Of course, you don't understand what Shushi means to this world. Shushi has never failed before. Shuei Mu explained in a tone that sounded like he was trying to pull people into his religion. Never failed? Sakura's tone was exaggerated. Is this world senpai so cruel? Hearing this, Yamato couldn't help but think secretly, our world is already surging with undercurrents, and a war with the Akatsuki may break out at any time. If Garashi-san was here, we wouldn't have to worry about the choice of the commander, but unfortunately, well, let's not talk about these things anymore. Let's get back to the topic. Garashi pondered, it's best not to talk about the parallel space-time. If someone asks, just say that I've damaged Lulan too much, and I'm staying here to participate in the post-war reconstruction. Hearing that he was going to rebuild Lulan, Yamato suddenly became energetic. Garashi-san, leave this task to me. Several people looked at him doubtfully. Leave it to you? Yamato nodded heavily. He was already blaming himself for the loss of Lulan because of his previous absent-mindedness, and now he could finally make up for it a little. Mokutan, Renju clan. Yamato pressed the hand seals on the ground, and more than a dozen wooden houses instantly rose from the ruins. Not only the external outline, but even the internal structure was very delicate. Seeing this scene, the refugees in the distance were stunned. Amazing, this is simply a miracle. I really want to learn this ninjutsu. If I can learn it, I can make money by selling houses in the future. Asuma and the others' mouths twitched wildly. Is Mokutan used to build houses? Although it's very appropriate, they always felt that something was wrong. They couldn't help but think that Mokutan was the power of Shodame-sama to pacify the warring states. Is his way of pacifying the troubled world by building a house for everyone? 2 days later. Not only Sakura, but even Sasai looked at Garashi with eyes full of worship and admiration. The more they learned, the more they realized the profoundness of Shodame-sama. His level of medical ninjutsu and fuinjutsu is much higher than them. It's just a split C-class ninjutsu and they learned it for 2 days. It's hard to imagine how difficult it was to develop the original ninjutsu. Naruto was also excited. Garashi Dage taught him a lot of new ways to use Rasengan in the past 2 days, making him feel that he has taken a big step forward on the road of making Rasengan. But it's still not enough to defeat Pain, who killed Horny Sannin. Naruto took a deep breath and asked, Garashi Dage, is there a way to make me stronger quickly? Sakura looked at him with some worry. Naruto, I understand your determination to become stronger quickly, but this kind of thing is simply impossible. Yamato also nodded seriously. The practice of ninja has never been done overnight. If you want to become stronger, you can only take it step by step. Garashi-sama has helped us a lot. It's better not to embarrass him. Naruto was a little depressed. I know. Garashi smiled. Who said there is no way to become stronger quickly? Not only there is, but there is more than one. Really? Sakura was surprised. Senpai, the method you're talking about isn't one of those extremely dangerous forbidden jutsu, right? Yamato was worried. If you want to become stronger quickly, you naturally have to take some risks, but it's not extremely dangerous. Garashi explained. Naruto couldn't wait to ask, Garashi Dage, please tell me I can do it. Chapter 228. The simplest and least dangerous way is to learn a powerful S-class ninjutsu. Garashi analyzed. Most people can only use S-class ninjutsu as a trump card. But Naruto is different. His chakra capacity shocked even me. After learning a powerful ninjutsu, you can turn it into your own strength as soon as possible. Listening to Garashi's words, the four were dumbfounded. The simplest way is to learn S-class ninjutsu? Senpai, do you have some misunderstanding about the definition of simple? Yamato smiled awkwardly. Garashi, Senpai, isn't that too difficult? Even many jonins don't know esoteric ninjutsu. If you define yourself as an ordinary person from the beginning, then there's no need to think about becoming stronger as soon as possible. Because this isn't something ordinary people can do. Garashi said in a deep voice. From Naruto's eagerness, you should have a very powerful enemy to face, right? Yamato nodded worriedly. Even Jiraiya-sama was killed. Such an enemy is simply too powerful. If you want to create a miracle, you have to believe in miracles first. Garashi's serious eyes swept over the four. If you deny yourself from the beginning, then leave the hero to others. Naruto waved his arm excitedly. Garashi Dage, I can do it. Very good. That's the confidence you need. Garashi nodded approvingly. The next step is to choose your field. Everyone has their own field of expertise. Choosing the right one is the first step to success. Hearing this, Naruto woke up. Isn't his talent Shadow Clone Jutsu and Jutsu? Shadow Clone Jutsu is used to speed up the practice, and Rasengan is used to develop further. I understand. Futon, Rasen Shuriken. If I can increase the completion of Rasen Shuriken to 100%, my first S-class ninjutsu will be a success. Seeing Naruto so excited, Yamato quickly poured cold water on him. Don't forget that jutsu was listed as a forbidden jutsu by Tsunade-sama. Garashi asked with interest. Was it listed as a forbidden technique by the teachers of that world? Naruto touched his head embarrassedly. I added Futon Chakra to the Rasengan, but because the completion level wasn't high enough, I couldn't throw it as I planned, and close combat would seriously injure my arm, so it was listed as a forbidden jutsu by Tsunade. It's not easy to add a property change to a Rasengan that has reached the pinnacle of shape change, Garashi muttered. Demonstrate it to me first. Isn't it too dangerous? Yamato asked worriedly. As long as the scale is controlled, there won't be a problem, Garashi comforted. Besides, I'm here. Yamato thought about it. When they fought Kakuzu, Naruto used the new jutsu 3 times in a row. Now, it shouldn't be a big problem to demonstrate it on a controlled scale. Seeing that Yamato no longer stopped him, Naruto summoned 2 shadow clones and said eagerly, Then I'll start. In the next moment, a powerful chakra condensed in Naruto's hand. The Rasengan in the form of a shuriken rotated at an extremely fast speed with a harsh sound. The surrounding airflow was disturbed, forming a small whirlwind. At this time, Garashi suddenly said, Naruto, don't resist. After that, a white light rushed into Naruto's body. Sakura was a little confused. Did something just fly into Naruto's body? Yamato was shocked. It's spirit transformation jutsu. In our world, only Kata-senpai learned this S-class ninjutsu. This is the third one, right? Sakura murmured to herself. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu, the Sun-like Jutsu, Spirit Transformation Jutsu, Senpai has shown 3 S-Class Ninjutsu. She finally understood why Garashi Senpai said the easiest way is to learn an S-Class Ninjutsu. For a genius like Senpai, learning an S-Class Ninjutsu is as simple as eating and drinking. At this time, Garashi, who occupied Naruto's body, began to freeload. As the king of freeloading, he has always avoided developing his own ninjutsu. Isn't it better to use this time to innovate? Just like wood release, it only took him a few months to develop it, but ice release, it took him more than a year to develop it from scratch. Moreover, don't think that it's easy to evolve from Rasengan to Wind Release Rasen Shuriken. According to Kakashi, even Namikaze Minato couldn't do it. Although Rasen Shuriken takes a long time to charge, it consumes a lot of chakra, and it's not compatible with the Flying Thunder God. It's enough to show the difficulty of developing it. To be precise, this kind of thing depends on talent and talent. Naruto's Rasengan is full of talent. For Garashi, his talent lies in learning and innovation, not only learning from others, but also innovating on the basis of predecessors. In a sense, his revision is even stronger than the original. Of course, to achieve this, he first needs the selfless dedication of many tools. It's precisely because he uses many tools to exert his talent to the extreme that he can have this kind of strength at this age. Especially after learning spiritualization, his learning efficiency has greatly improved, evolving from a simple language teaching to a VR experience. At this moment, Garashi was analyzing all the mysteries of Rasen Shuriken from Naruto's perspective. Proportion, coordination, variation, convergence. Well, I almost understand. As the founder of Rasengan, who has been making Rasengan for 7 or 8 years, and even longer than Naruto, after understanding the general process, this S-Class Ninjutsu was naturally no longer a secret in Garashi's eyes. Then, Naruto pushed the shuriken towards Garashi. At the moment when the shuriken erupted, Garashi shifted his attack. Boom. At the same time, a strong shock wave broke out in the distance, and a part of Garashi's soul returned to his body. My right hand is fine. Naruto excitedly touched his right hand. Garashi smiled. After all, I asked you to demonstrate and I don't want you to get hurt. Spiritualization can be used like this. On the side, Yamato was dumbfounded. If Kata Senpai could also split his soul into 2, he wouldn't have been killed while using this jutsu. I just made a little improvement on the spiritualization jutsu. Garashi gestured with his fingers. Just as Yamato was about to complain about the finger shinobi world, his eyes suddenly widened, and he looked like a salted fish without oxygen. He looked at the mini Rasen Shuriken that appeared between Rinshuriken's 2 fingers and stammered, This is? As the instructor who accompanied Naruto in his special training, Yamato naturally knew how much effort Naruto put in to finally complete this jutsu. But Naruto only took a few breaths to master this ability. His talent is terrifying. He couldn't help but think that compared to Kakashi Senpai, Garashi Senpai is the real copy ninja. The S-Class Ninjutsu developed by Naruto was actually learned so quickly. Sakura subconsciously opened her mouth wide. Garashi Senpai was already an unimaginable genius. At the age of 12 he was able to develop an ultimate ninjutsu. But compared to Garashi Senpai he seemed to be more than 1 level behind. Don't be surprised. My talent lies in learning. Compared to Naruto, I'm actually not good at developing new jutsu. Garashi said modestly. Yamato's mouth twitched slightly. I don't believe you. If Senpai didn't use ice release I might have believed you. Chapter 229. The density is extremely high, the rotation is extremely fast, and the cutting property of the wind attribute chakra is added. If you're not careful, the Rasen Shuriken may dissipate. Looking at the mini shuriken between his 2 fingers, Garashi looked dignified. In this case it's really difficult to throw the shuriken. Naruto bowed his head in frustration. Even Garashi Dage, you can't do it? Garashi smiled. I just said it's difficult. When did I say there's no way? Hearing this, Naruto hurriedly urged. Then tell me quickly. The most direct but also the most troublesome way is to improve the control of chakra. As long as you can completely control the 2 changes, in theory you can throw it. Garashi pondered. Chakra control? Naruto withered as soon as he heard this. This is exactly what he's not good at. Don't worry, there are 2 other ways. Garashi smiled and dissipated the mini Rasen Shuriken. It just so happens that I'm going to mention 2 other ways to make you stronger quickly. Not only can I learn Naruto's ability in an instant, but I can also improve it in such a short time. Senpai is really... Yamato felt that his vocabulary was insufficient and didn't know what to say. The second way is the Kyubi chakra mode. Kyubi chakra mode? Naruto looked down at his stomach. I've fought with Jinchuriki many times and I'm familiar with the Bijou chakra mode. Garashi crossed his arms. Under normal circumstances, the Jinchuriki and the Bijou in the body compete for chakra, which will greatly reduce the control of chakra. But if you can reach a settlement with the Bijou in the body, not only can you free yourself, but you can also use the Bijou to help control it. Just like Naruto, you used the Shadow Clone to help create the Raisin Shuriken. In addition to the help of the Wind Raisin Shuriken, the Bijou chakra mode is also very powerful. It has strong self-healing, fast speed, and high explosive power. Presumably, you all should have experienced the horror of Naruto in that mode, right? Hearing this, the few of them nodded with lingering fear. During the Battle of Tengen Bridge, Naruto in that state was simply terrifying. Really? Naruto hesitated. That guy is very bad. It is indeed a little troublesome. After all, the nine-tailed beast in your body has been imprisoned for 20 years longer than the one I know. But, Garashi said and patted Naruto on the shoulder. Listen more, communicate more. I believe you can do it, Naruto. Listen and communicate? Naruto touched his belly and whispered. Seeing that Naruto was about to have a bold idea, Yamato hurriedly said, Garashi-sama, what about the third method? As expected, Naruto's attention was diverted, and he looked at him curiously. The third method can be said to be the most difficult one. It has an extremely high requirement for one's aptitude, Garashi said solemnly. You should still remember the move that I comprehended when I knocked him down, right? Very strong. It was rare for Sajing to interject. Don't tell me you're going to teach me that move? Naruto's eyes lit up when he heard this and he almost flew away. That's the senjutsu I used when I was in Sage mode. As long as you can learn Sage mode, you can naturally reach my level. Garashi explained. Sage mode? Yamato's expression changed. Is it Jiraiya-sama's ability that shocked the shinobi world? Naruto clenched his hands. Is it Lascivious Sage's ability? Although it's the same Sage mode, there are subtle differences. Garashi explained. Jiraiya-sama's senjutsu comes from Mount Myaboku, while my senjutsu comes from Shikatsu Forest. Mount Myaboku? Isn't that the place where Bunta Oniai-sama lives? But where is Shikatsu Forest? Naruto was surprised. It's the place where Luzu-sama lives. Sakura said helplessly. Nature's three holy lands for senjutsu are the three summoned beasts corresponding to Luzu-sama, Toad, and Snake. Garashi looked at Naruto with a smile. Congratulations, Naruto. You've passed the most basic level of senjutsu inheritance. Inheritance? A disciple should inherit sensei's will. Naruto exhaled heavily. No matter how difficult this sage mode is, I will definitely learn it. It's not only difficult, it's also dangerous. Garashi warned in a serious voice. I put this last because it's extremely dangerous. As long as there's a slight deviation, your whole body will be eroded by natural chakra and finally petrified to death. Hearing Garashi's stern words, Naruto's forehead couldn't help but sweat, but the look in his eyes didn't change at all. Sakura was a little scared. Naruto, you should use the second method. Although it's also dangerous, at least you have experience. Naruto was silent for a moment, then he made a shocking sound. No, I want all of them. Huh? What? The power of my Yanbi can't even defeat Orochimaru who can't make hand seals, and Pain killed Horny Sage who can transform into Sage. So if I want to defeat Pain, I have to master both of these powers at the same time. Yamato frowned. It's too reckless. You can't even master the power of Kyubi now. I know, but I have to do it. Naruto's eyes were very firm. As Garashi Dage said, people who think they can't succeed from the beginning can't create miracles. Garashi clapped his hands gently. I'm now more and more convinced that Naruto has the qualifications to become a sage. Really? Naruto said excitedly. Garashi nodded slowly. Putting aside the difficulty and danger of becoming a sage, there are two conditions to become a sage. One is a huge chakra, and the other is a strong perseverance that never gives up. Hearing this, Yamato and the other two looked at Naruto in shock. Needless to say, Chakra Senpai Kakashi personally certified it as 100 calories. As for perseverance, although Naruto's persistence sometimes seems silly, they have to admit that Naruto's perseverance is stronger than most people. I didn't expect Naruto to have this kind of talent. While shocked, Sakura couldn't help but feel happy for Naruto. This child may really have the possibility to surpass Jiraiya-sama. Yamato sighed in his heart and no longer stopped him. Naruto laughed with his hands on his waist. Wow! It turns out that I'm also a genius. Naruto, I can't help you much with Kyuubi chakra mode, but I can let you experience Sage mode in advance. Garashi smiled and pointed his index finger at Naruto's eyebrows. Lend me your body again. Naruto naturally wouldn't refuse and said casually. Garashi Dage, take it. Chapter 230. Garashi didn't hesitate and directly used spirit transformation jutsu to enter Naruto's body. Use your body to remember what I'm doing now. Naruto sat cross-legged and said in a calm voice. Naruto was observing himself from a bystander's point of view. He found it novel and interesting, but when he heard Garashi's words he quickly followed. Something strange seems to have entered my body. That's natural chakra. Senjutsu chakra is more powerful than ordinary chakra because it's no longer a combination of physical and spiritual energy. Instead, it's a combination of natural energy in an absolutely balanced state. I seem to understand, but there's something I don't understand. While Naruto was thinking hard, Garashi successfully controlled Naruto's body to enter Sage mode. In Sage mode, Garashi found some information that was ignored when he entered Naruto's body last time. This hidden chakra is Asura? As the reincarnation of chakra of Asura, the son of Rikudo Sennin, or rather, possessed, Naruto didn't show too many powerful characteristics. Chakra was mostly because of the Uzumaki bloodline. Sage mode was the result of his own strong perseverance combined with the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Except for the gift from Rikudo Sennin, this identity didn't actually help Naruto much. After all, he's just the reincarnation of chakra, not the reincarnation of his soul. However, this doesn't mean that this discovery has no significance. What Garashi valued was the spiritual will attached to chakra, the strong will that still fights even after thousands of years of reincarnation. Hashirama can materialize momentum. The spiritual will attached to the reincarnation of Asura chakra should be even stronger. For me at this stage, comprehending their will can be a big improvement. Garashi carefully felt Asura's spiritual will, imagining a wave of Haushikuhaki in the next war. After absorbing natural energy, Garashi calmed his mind and controlled Naruto's body to stand up. In Sage mode, my ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu will be greatly improved. Before, I needed to concentrate to use the Raisin Shuriken, but now I can easily use it, that is to say, Naruto raised the Raisin Shuriken with his right hand and threw it into the sky. In this mode, you don't need to control chakra to complete your new jutsu. Moreover, immortal arts that have been infused with natural energy are far more powerful than the original. Boom. The shuriken that was thrown out rapidly expanded in the sky, and circles of air rippled, stirring up a violent hurricane that blew in all directions. It took a full half a minute before it stopped. So this is Sage mode? As expected, it's terrifyingly strong. While Yamato was shocked, he couldn't help but feel a little depressed. When did his would release become so strong? It's amazing. It's obviously Naruto's own body, but it's even stronger under senior brother's control. Sakura secretly admired. After the demonstration, Garashi's soul returned to his body. Naruto, how was it? Naruto was excited. It's too strong. It's worthy of Sage mode. Garashi smiled helplessly. I'm asking about your perception. The smile on Naruto's face suddenly froze. Ha ha ha, I don't feel anything. Sakura grabbed his shoulder and shook it. Senior brother kindly demonstrated it to you, but you were distracted. Naruto felt wronged. I'm learning it with all my heart. But it's really difficult. I'm too demanding. Garashi shook his head. You don't have to worry. Mount Myaboku has a complete teaching method of senjutsu. They'll teach you how to perceive natural energy. As for today's demonstration, it will allow you to naturally cultivate Sage mode after perceiving natural energy. Seeing Garashi thinking so much for him, Naruto couldn't help but nod. I understand. I won't let you down, brother Garashi. Shushi nodded, then said with a smile, I have nothing else to teach you. Go back to the world that belongs to you. Sakura and Naruto were a little reluctant. Although it was only 2 days, Garashi was like a teacher and a big brother who cared about and guided them, making them grow a lot. When they thought that they would never see brother Garashi again in the future, they felt a little suffocated. There's no need to make a bitter face. Garashi smiled gently. It's already a very rare fate for people from two different worlds to meet. We should thank fate. Seeing the atmosphere was a little dull, Yamato walked out and solemnly saluted. Garashi, senpai, thank you very much for your help. No matter what the future holds, we will always remember you. Why do I feel like they're cursing me? Garashi was secretly speechless, but he didn't care. Instead, he smiled and looked at the tools he developed into a parallel universe. Let's go. I'm going to completely seal the Ryumayaku. They walked with heavy steps to the place where the original altar was, waving their arms vigorously. Garashi, senpai, you have to remember us too. I will. Whoosh. Like the distortion of the TV pictures in his previous life, the space distorted, and then the four disappeared. During this process, Garashi didn't stay idle. While using the pendant of Queen Rorin to close the Ryumayaku, he used a very complicated technique to place a seal on the broken altar. After the seal was completed, the restless chakra around finally calmed down. Of course, this was just on the surface. In fact, Garashi also left a back door for himself. Just like how Minato left a back door for himself in the 8-trigram seal, if a seal didn't leave a back door, would it still be called a seal? From now on, this will be my magic base. Garashi nodded with satisfaction. After plucking the fox's fur for so long, it was time to change the target. In a sense, he could now enter the complete version of Sage Mode like Hashirama. However, that was under the premise that he opened the Yin seal and used the Ryumayaku chakra. It seems that I have to make some improvements to the Yin seal. Garashi thought to himself. After the Yin seal was opened, there was no way to stop it. It had to be stored again after it was used up. In fact, this wasn't a big problem in the past. In normal battles, he didn't need to use the Yin seal to defeat the enemy, and in a situation where he needed to open the Yin seal, it meant that he couldn't be stingy with the chakra. But it was different now. The Ryumayaku chakra allowed him to save the process of refining natural energy, which meant that he could use Sage Mode in normal battles. This wasn't a one-time version of Sage Mode, but the complete version of Sage Mode, which was undoubtedly a huge improvement to his normal strength. In order to achieve this, the Yin seal had to be used as soon as it was activated. Chapter 231. As a power bank, it's not qualified to charge it once. You should at least charge it up 100 times. While Shushi thought to himself, he continued to think. Apart from that, I still have to improve the unsealing process of the Yin seal. When the Yin seal is unsealed, black lines will spread from the diamond-shaped mark on the forehead to the whole body. After using it a few times, won't everyone know that he has chakra senjutsu? At first, it can be explained by the kickback when he sealed the Ryumayaku, but other people are not fools. Seeing that he can't use up the chakra stored in the Yin seal, won't they know that he left a backdoor in the Ryumayaku seal? So, he simply disguised the process of unsealing the Yin seal as entering Sage Mode in seconds. If Hashirama can do it, then I, Shimizu Garashi, can't do it? It just so happens that Sage Mode also has Sage Mask. I should try to control the lines of the Yin seal to move closer to this side, or directly cover the lines of the Yin seal with Sage Mask. Thinking of this, Garashi shook his head slightly. Let's put the Yin seal matter aside for the time being. It's time to solve the problem of Satori. The reason why he sent Asuma and the others away, in addition to giving Naruto pointers, was to obtain Satori's ability. Mind reading, this ability is really useful. Not only is it useful for fighting, but it's also useful in daily layout design. But now there is a problem, that is, how to deal with this ancient monster after sealing it. This is different from the previous seal of the Bijou Chakra, which is a dead thing without life. This time it's a very dangerous living thing. According to the normal process, he should give the scroll of sealing Satori to the village after returning. But in such a short time he can't learn the ability of mind reading. So, I have to find a way to extract Satori's ability, or kill Satori and divert their attention to the seal of the Box of Bliss. Garashi pondered and jumped to the ground, sealing the entire underground altar with jutsu. At this time Sarah's figure walked over. Are you leaving too? Garashi nodded slightly. We're still in the middle of a war. We can't delay it any longer. After a moment of silence, Sarah smiled. You are the hero who saved Lulan. I believe that you will also become a hero on that battlefield. Thank you. Garashi accepted the blessing with a natural expression. By the way, have you found the box? Although Wu came alone, the Box of Bliss would not be too far away from it. When it came to serious matters, Sarah also became serious. We found it. Garashi smiled. This should be the last hidden danger. Please take me to seal it. Of course, Sala did not refuse. She led Shushi to a wooden palace. Looking at the palace, Sarah couldn't help but exclaim that Yamato Jonin's craftsmanship is really exquisite. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have imagined that this palace was built with ninjutsu. Garashi nodded in agreement. Yamato Jonin is indeed very talented in this regard. It's not difficult to build a house with wood release, but it's not easy to build a house with all the necessary facilities. The two went to the backyard where the box of bliss was placed quietly. Yes, this is it. After confirming that there was no mistake, Garashi took out a scroll and put the box of bliss into it. Mission complete, it's time for me to leave. Well, remember to come and see me when you have time. At the same time, Woodleaf's higher-ups were having a meeting. Hiruzen, what the hell are you thinking? You actually agreed to negotiate and give up the right to ask for compensation. Danzo slammed the table and shouted angrily. It's as if we lost the war. The two advisors sitting next to him also frowned. Hiruzen, what are you thinking? Sandaime took a puff from his pipe, his expression calm. This is to end the war as soon as possible. Don't forget, we have more than one battlefield. Danzo's expression was cold. So what? If we continue to fight, the winner will be us. Sandaime sighed. You don't understand the impact of the Western Front's armistice on the village. The moment the tension in everyone's heart is relaxed, it's difficult to tighten it again. Mitokado nodded. There are indeed a lot of anti-war sentiments in the village. Danzo said indifferently. Then suppress these sentiments. The Umbu should arrest those who spread negative sentiments. There may be spies from Rock Crypsis among them. Sandaime looked at him coldly. Danzo, you've crossed the line. You're too weak, Hiruzen. Danzo retorted. Didn't the previous two wars teach you a lesson? If we don't beat them, sooner or later they'll start another war. So? Do you intend to destroy Rock Crypsis? Sandaime sighed. The Earth Country is different from the Air Country. If we really go that far, let alone Yunin and Kirin, even Sand Crypsis will be hostile to us. Danzo coldly snorted. Even if we don't destroy them, we'll make Rock Crypsis pay a heavy price. That's the problem. Sandaime-sama pinched his eyebrows with a headache. Anoki saw through our scruples and threatened us, saying that if we don't want to negotiate, Rock Village won't surrender even if we have to fight to the last man. Danzo snorted. You're worried, but Anoki is more worried than you. Let's see what he'll do later. Sandaime suddenly raised his head and looked at Danzo suspiciously. You're also playing those little games that Shursui made? Danzo's face stiffened. Are you kidding me? Why would this old man play with something so frivolous? Sandaime looked at him with a smile. Rock Crypsis values the unity of the village the most. Without this, the former Rock Crypsis will no longer exist. So, Rock Crypsis is willing to make concessions in some areas, but on a diplomatic level they can't surrender. This is Anoki's bottom line. Oh, this is in line with Anoki's style. Danzo leaned back and gently tapped his finger on the table. What's their hidden condition? Sandaime said with a smile. As a condition for the peace talks, they will start a war with Yunin. Start a war with Yunin? Danzo sneered. They say it's a peace talk, but I think they want to loot a burning house. In any case, this war has lasted long enough. Sandaime said. Agree to Rock Crypsis's peace talks and end this nightmare as soon as possible. But, have you thought about how to take responsibility? Danzo narrowed his eyes. The hidden deal can't be revealed. In other words, you should be responsible for this meaningless war. Hamura frowned. Danzo, you... Sandaime raised his right hand indicating that Hamura should stop talking. After the war, I will resign from the position of Naruto. Chapter 232. The night sky wasn't bright, and a few dark clouds covered the stars. In the mottled shadow of the trees, Garashi floated forward like a ghost, and stopped outside the wood-leaf barrier. Although the Uzumaki Ancestral Hall was far from the village, it was still within the range of wood-leaf, and rashly entering would be detected by the barrier. Of course, for Garashi, who was already considered a high-ranking member of the village, bypassing the barrier and entering the village without being detected was not difficult. Barrier open. It's really troublesome to sneak back to the village. Secretly sighing, Garashi moved forward according to the route he had already planned. It didn't take long for him to come to a dilapidated ancestral hall. It's here. Garashi calmly walked into the ancestral hall. The ancestral hall was empty and gloomy, except for a wall full of ghost masks, there was nothing else. These are all Shinigami masks? Garashi looked at them a little, and then his hands began to quickly form hand seals. Spirit transformation technique. In the next moment, Garashi's spirit body floated in the air. In his spirit body's vision, almost every mask had a Shinigami floating behind it. Artificial Shinigami like the evil god? Garashi had some guesses in his heart, but now was not the time to verify it. In the spirit body's perception, Garashi picked the mask with the lowest soul strength and took it in his hand. Then he took back his spirit body and turned around to leave. Although it was the edge of Woodleaf, it was still in the village and it was better to change the place for the experiment. In the Land of Fire, a group of bandits on a small hill. Since most of the Woodleaf ninjas were transferred to the battlefield, the bandits in the Land of Fire had a relatively better life. Of course, this was only the situation 2 years ago. With the improvement of the war situation, their life became difficult again. At this moment, Garashi was standing on a nearby tree, observing the sacrifice below. Although the quality of the offerings is terrible, I've also sealed Wu. In this case, it shouldn't be too much of a problem to complete the spell. If it really doesn't work, I'll use quantity to make up for the difference in quality. With a few words, Garashi decided the fate of these bandits. The bandits, who did not know that they were being watched, were laughing loudly around the bonfire. Ah! Today's harvest is not bad. Those old fellows weren't honest at first. They forced us to kill a few people before they were willing to hand over the money. There's nothing we can do about it. Our lives aren't easy either. It's getting harder and harder to survive in the Fire Nation. After finishing the last job, we'll go to the Wind Nation. At this moment, a chakra wave spread out. All of the bandits' movements instantly stopped, and their pupils lost their luster. In this pitch-black night, it was very strange. Garashi calmly jumped down from the tree branch. He activated his perception barrier before taking out the scroll that sealed Wu. The seal was undone. The ice coffin, which was emitting a biting cold air, appeared on the ground, adding a hint of coldness to the cold night. Let's begin. Garashi used an illusion to control a bandit to walk over and start forming seals in front of the ice coffin. The focus of the corpse ghost seal was on the soul. Just like in the battle between the third King Yenluo and Orochimaru, after the death contract was set, it was possible to use a shadow clone as a sacrifice. Hence, although the quality of these bandits' offerings was poor, under Garashi's control, it was still possible to summon the death god with their souls. Of course, the prerequisite was that the chakra had to pay for the journey himself. However, for Garashi, lending some chakra was not a problem at all. Soon, the death god holding a chain of beads and holding a dagger in his mouth appeared behind the bandits. This is the death god? It doesn't seem very powerful. Garashi raised his eyebrows. Although he chose a mask with the lowest soul strength, the death god in front of him did not pose much of a threat to him. Garashi even suspected that if someone used the corpse ghost seal on him, the death god might just go on strike. It seems that this technique is also related to the strength of the soul. While Garashi was secretly observing, the death god he summoned finally took action. The intangible arm easily penetrated the ice coffin and even pierced into Wu's body. It forcefully pulled Wu's soul out. Although its body was still sealed, Wu's soul already reacted. Bastard! What is this? This is not Lulan. Why am I here? Clearly, its consciousness was still stuck at the moment before it was sealed. However, even if it did not know what kind of existence was pulling its soul, Wu knew that it could not be pulled over by the other party. Hence, Wu walked back with all its might. Pulling and pulling, it was like a tug-of-war competition. Perhaps because the quality of the offerings was too poor, Wu's soul had the upper hand in this tug-of-war competition. Garashi watched calmly. Then he went down to pull Wu's side. Another 5 bandits walked over and used the corpse ghost seal at the same time. The death god's power instantly increased and pulled Wu's soul over. Then he raised his hand and slashed. As Wu wailed unwillingly, the souls of Wu and the bandits were all sealed into the death god's body. After the seal was completed, the death god disappeared. If one did not look at the fallen bandits, it would be as if nothing had happened. I can start the next step, killing the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness. Garashi nodded in satisfaction. He summoned another tool and put the mask on the bandit's face. Corpse ghost seal, release. The death god that had just finished was summoned back. Before it could find its target, it was cut in the stomach by an unscrupulous capitalist. A few balls of soul fire flew out of the death god's stomach. 6 of them were very weak, but one of them was abnormally strong. Spiritualization, capture. In the next moment, the soul fires, which were like rootless duckweeds, were collected by Mustache. After all, this world has the Edo Tensei ninjutsu. Although I don't think anyone will use the Edo Tensei ninjutsu, for the sake of safety, even your souls will be annihilated. Garashi shattered the souls of these bandits with a cold face. Then, he turned his calm gaze to the death god who was inexplicably aggrieved. The weak death god is just right to merge with his soul. Death god, Sigma degree. Garashi forcibly fixed the death god who was planning to escape and merged the souls of death god and Wu. This was some inspiration he got from Black Zetsu's body. Although it was not yin-yang release, it could be fused and separated like Black Zetsu and White Zetsu. After doing all this, Garashi sealed the product of the fusion into the mask. Now the death god mask is not just a summoning medium, but more of a ninja tool. Garashi played with the mask and then put it on his face. The next moment, the voices of the other bandits who were immersed in the illusion kept emerging in Garashi's ears. After confirming the function of the mask and the idea was correct, Garashi took off the mask with satisfaction. Before I learn this ability, I will temporarily use this mask instead. Chapter 233. In addition to mind reading, this mask seems to have some other functions. Garashi's fingertips gently stroked the side of the mask, feeling the simple texture of the mask while whispering. Turning around and walking to a bandit, he put his right hand on the bandit's head, and then gently pulled, like pulling a fishing line, the soul of the bandit was fished out of his body. This is part of the Shinigami's ability. Looking at the soul in his hand, Garashi nodded slightly. This is something he can't do with spirit transformation jutsu. In terms of form, this ability seems to be closer to the soul extraction of Rinnegan, but it is more delicate than Rinnegan, and the extracted soul is more complete. In addition to the most basic memory reading, it can also be used as a material for soul fusion. Speaking of which, the Shinigami I summoned for the second time seems to be a little stronger than before. It should be because it absorbed the power of the souls that were sacrificed. Not devouring but absorbing, just like a fox that was required to pay rent regularly. Otherwise, Namikaze Minato's soul wouldn't be intact after being eaten for more than 10 years. It's called the Shinigami, but it doesn't even have the ability to devour souls, and even the results of hard work can be easily stolen by capitalists like me and Orochimaru. If this is the real Shinigami, it's too miserable. Garashi calmly analyzed. If I'm not wrong, the back door to unlock the Shiki Fujin should be deliberately left by the Shinigami, or specifically left for the Uzumaki clan. In Garashi's view, it should be that the Uzumaki clan's physique is too tempting. Even if there is a strong seal, it is difficult to dispel the enemy's greed. Therefore, some powerful Uzumaki clan developed the Shiki Fujin jutsu with themselves as the blueprint. It makes them become the Shinigami, and when they encounter a difficult enemy, they can directly use the Shiki Fujin jutsu as a warning, and every time they use the Shiki Fujin jutsu, it can make the Shinigami stronger. And the use of this back door is to release the souls of the people who use this technique. Because of this technique doesn't use the bad method of devouring and fusing souls. Just the number of souls to create a Grim Reaper can make QB unable to resist. That is to say, fusing souls and obtaining higher quality souls may become a new way to become stronger, or even using these souls as materials to create a Hogyoku that belongs to this world. However, after careful consideration, Garashi had no choice but to temporarily give up this tempting idea. The quality of an average person's soul was too weak. If it was used as a fusion material, it would be like a tall building made of inferior cement. Any external force could cause it to collapse. However, it was not easy to steal the souls of powerful beings. Killing one or two of them secretly was not a big deal. But to kill so many powerful beings on such a large scale? Did the 6 Tao of the Pure Land really think that they were blind? The 6 paths of Samsara, who was sitting in the Pure Land, should be the most sensitive to the fate of these souls. Just from the fact that he could easily summon the souls of the past shadows, it was clear that he had great control over the Pure Land. If you steal his things, be careful of the 6 paths, Chibaku Tensei's warning. It's really troublesome. The gap between ninja and Otsutsuki is too big. Even if I stand at the top of the ninja world, I'm still 2 or 3 levels away from the 6 paths sage, not to mention that I'm far from the top of the ninja world. Garashi sighed helplessly. If he wanted to break the shackles of life, all the ways to become stronger must be considered. Even if he closed Madara's coffin tightly and didn't let him come out to dance, The Otsutsuki trio will be a threat that can't be ignored in a few decades. Garashi sighed. There is not much time left for him. In this case he can't easily give up any idea. So, first of all, I have to find someone to take the blame for me? Speaking of the blame, Garashi subconsciously thought of the respected elder Danzo. But he quickly shook his head. This blame is too big, Danzo can't take it. Garashi thought to himself. The collection of souls can't be done by me, and it can't even be done in this world. Black Zetsu in the parallel world may be a good choice. But it's not easy to deceive Black Zetsu. Taking advantage of the information asymmetry is one way, but the information he has now is not enough. Throwing out the bait rashly may alert the enemy. After all, his understanding of Black Zetsu is limited to the memory of his previous life. If he wants to scheme against Black Zetsu, he needs to know more about him. Maybe I can repeatedly test in this world and then use the information I get to win the trust of Black Zetsu in the other world. Thinking of this, Garashi's mouth raised slightly. I seem to know how to play the next game with him. The next day early morning. Stepping on dewdrops, Shushi returned to the Western Front camp. Then he received the news of a truce between the two sides. In this regard, the opinions of the people in the camp are not uniform. Their attitudes are roughly divided into two factions. The war-weary faction thinks that ending the war early is not a bad thing. The Rock Crypsis is not a pushover, and pushing them too hard will make them desperate. The pro-war faction can't accept it. Most of them lost their friends and family in the war, and hatred makes them unwilling to stop. In just a day or two the camp has already broken out in double digits. Therefore when Garashi returned to the camp, a large group of people surrounded him. Garashi-sama, please mention it to Naruto-sama. How can we give up at the last minute? Yes, we have been holding on for 3 years. Garashi-sama, don't listen to their nonsense, the war has brought enough pain. Garashi also has a headache. This kind of thing can't be explained clearly. He is not Gaara, how can a speech make them let go of their hatred? However, I can only bite the bullet. Garashi felt helpless, but his expression was solemn. Everyone listened to me for a moment. Hearing Garashi's words, the noise around him suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked at Garashi with anticipation. Just as you said, if this war continues we will win. And as the battlefield commander, I can easily receive flowers and applause. From the perspective of my interests, I should support the war, but I don't want to do this, because I don't want to see you at a funeral next time. There is no way to eliminate the hatred that has already arisen, but the pain that spreads can be stopped. If your friends and family die you will be sad, but if you die those who care about you will also be sad, and the pain will continue to spread. With that, Garashi changed the topic. However, I am not persuading you to let go of your hatred. There are many ways to take revenge on the Rock Crypsis, and there is no need to use this way to hurt yourself and the people around you. For example, you can organize people to snatch Rock Crypsis's missions after the war, so that the Rock Crypsis has no missions to accept. Or you can write books like Jiraiya-sama, spreading the evil and cruelty of Rock Crypsis through words. Or you can even work hard to make money to set up a large chamber of commerce to impose economic sanctions on the Rock Crypsis. Chapter 234. Everyone was stunned, as if the door to a new world had been opened. Wonderful. When I go back I'll write a book called The Story of Inoki and the Yanbi Jinchuriki. Wait, Garashi-sama wants us to spread the evil of Rock Crypsis. Isn't this evil? It seems to make sense, then I'll go back and buy a few books by Jiraiya-sama to study. Although Shushi's words did not dispel everyone's hatred, they calmed down from their frenzied state. Everyone is a net, and pain will spread along the veins of the net. If they die, those who care about them will also be sad and painful. After having this thought, it was difficult for them to make the same desperate decision. Especially after hearing Shushi's last words, their hatred was successfully led astray. As expected of Garashi-sama, his vision is much more far-sighted than us. We were too impulsive before, and we didn't understand Naruto-sama's painstaking efforts. Garashi-sama is worthy of being the one who comprehended the will of fire, what he said is reasonable. Garashi didn't care about killing, and after stopping the commotion he retreated. As for whether the future will develop in a strange direction, it's none of his business. 2 days later, Garashi returned to Woodleaf, which he hadn't seen for a long time. Because of the fear of Rock Crypsis's treachery, the Western Front didn't withdraw completely. After discussion, it was decided to leave Shimura in the camp, and Garashi returned to the village to rest for a while before setting off for the Eastern Front. After returning to the village, Garashi first reported to Sandaime-sama about Satori. Garashi-sama. Please help me pass the message. Yes. Please wait a moment. When he came back again, the treatment was completely different. Even the guards in front of Naruto's building looked at him with admiration. The name Shimizu Garashi has been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Soon, Garashi was invited into the Naruto building. As soon as he entered, Sandaime looked at him and smiled. Garashi, the commotion at the Western Front is all thanks to you. Garashi blushed and said, I was worried that Lord Naruto would blame me for leading them astray. Sandaime smiled and waved his hand. Hatred has to be channeled. You've done well. Let's hope they don't become too strange. Garashi lampooned inwardly before he went straight to the point. Lord Naruto, after I sealed the monster in ice for a few days, I used spiritualization to destroy its soul while it was weak. However, I'll need your instructions on what to do with the box of bliss. With that, Garashi took out 2 scrolls and summoned the box of bliss in the ice coffin. Even though the office was spacious, the 2 of them were squeezed into a corner. But Sandaime didn't care. He just looked at the ice coffin in surprise. This monster is really dead. He didn't suspect anything. He just sighed and said, this monster is dead. It can be considered as an explanation for the ninjas it killed. As for the box of bliss, this kind of dangerous existence should be sealed forever. Yes, I understand. Garashi sealed the 2 scrolls and put them on the table. Lord Naruto, do you have anything else to tell me? You must be tired. Go back and rest early. By the way, Asuma seems to be waiting for you to come back. After reporting to Satori, Garashi walked a few steps out of the Naruto building. He saw Asuma and the others waiting in front of him with heavy expressions. What's the matter with you guys? Why do you all have such expressions? Asuma sighed. Bordered soil was sacrificed on the battlefield in Yunnan. Shushi's expression turned serious. What happened? Asuma explained. On the battlefield in Yunnan, bordered soil was ambushed by the enemy. Kakashi's left eye was scratched. In order to protect Kakashi, bordered soil's heart was pierced by the enemy. After leaving his eye to Kakashi, he died. Hearing Asuma's words, Garashi glanced at the crowd and found Kakashi and Rin with sad expressions. Especially Kakashi's scarlet left eye, it was particularly eye-catching. Seeing this scene, Garashi was puzzled. Was this a coincidence or a design? The Battle of Canopy Bridge didn't happen, and the Minato squad has been active on the battlefield in Yunnan. In this case, why did bordered soil's fate follow the original trajectory? If it was just a simple death, Garashi wouldn't be surprised. After all, bordered soil's strength was not very strong, and it was normal to be killed in a large-scale war. But this unusually similar trajectory made him a little uncertain. Unlike the original Kakashi, the Kakashi in this spacetime was constantly growing under his pressure. Compared to the original Kakashi, his strength was definitely much stronger. Even if he played Chidori, it was unlikely that he would be pierced in the eye, unless this was a deliberate calculation by Black. Or the incident in the original trajectory was not an accident. The so-called Battle of Canopy Bridge was a carefully designed script by Black Zetsu. The purpose was to send bordered soil, who was half destroyed, to Madara. It was normal to think like this. How could there be so many accidents in the world, and it just happened to send bordered soil, a genius with hidden attributes, to Madara's eyes? But there was one more thing. How could Black Zetsu send someone who died on the battlefield in Yunnan quietly to Madara's eyes without being suspected? Garashi. Hearing Asuma shout, Garashi woke up from his contemplation. Seeing Garashi so silent, Asuma patted him on the shoulder and said, Don't be too sad. Bordered soil is a person who likes to laugh. He certainly doesn't want to see us sad. Kurenai said, After we received the news, we wanted to wait for you to come back, Garashi, and we all went to Bordered Soil's house to express our condolences. Only his grandmother is in Bordered Soil's house. Garashi nodded. You're right, we should really visit the old people. Along the way the atmosphere was very dull. It was very common to die in war, but because of Garashi, it was the first time they saw a close friend sacrificed. Thinking of this, the team couldn't help but look at Garashi with grateful and admiring eyes. If it weren't for Garashi, some of them might have become people who were remembered. In this silent atmosphere, Garashi looked at Kakashi and asked, Did you bring back the body of bordered soil? Hearing Garashi's question, Kakashi bowed his head in pain. Because of the urgency of time, Rin and I buried bordered soil and left. When we found Minato-sensei and rushed back, the place had already been dug up. Damn it. It must be Yunin's bastards who couldn't catch us, so they took Bordered Soil's body to vent their anger. Garashi's eyes flashed. Hearing this, he could roughly determine that this was Black Zetsu's doing. Although it's very surprising from the overall situation, it's also a historical inevitability. There are only so many ninjas in the whole ninja world, and there are very few people who can meet the requirements of Black Zetsu. Under Black Zetsu's selection, fate finally chose Bordered Soil. Garashi secretly thought about the pros and cons of this change. From a cold-blooded point of view, Bordered Soil's experience is actually not a bad thing. After Black Zetsu's transformation, he can really tap his own potential. For Garashi, as long as he can keep Rin alive, he can easily pull Bordered Soil out of hell when necessary, and then receive Madara's legacy through Bordered Soil. Therefore, the key to this problem is to keep Rin alive, and at the same time, to ensure that this secret is not discovered by Black Zetsu. Otherwise, every time he saves Rin, Black Zetsu will act, and Bordered Soil will be stimulated to directly open Rin again. Going back to the problem itself, this is exactly the most difficult part of the whole process. With his strength, he has to be very careful after being targeted by Black Zetsu, and if the target is Rin, the possibility of escaping Black Zetsu's calculation is infinitely close to zero. After all, one is in the light and the other is in the dark. Thinking of this, Garashi found the answer he wanted. One is in the light and the other is in the dark. Then let Rin go from the light to the dark. Chapter 235. Everyone arrived at the Uchiha clan's residence. The Uchiha clan has always had few outsiders entering, and seeing so many people, the guards subconsciously wanted to stop them. "Hey, you are here too." Fortunately, a sharp-eyed Uchiha rushed in front of him. "Commander." Garashi was startled. Only the ninjas who retired from the Western Front would call him that. Looking at the person who came, Garashi smiled and said, "Are you Kurikase?" The Uchiha who greeted him obviously didn't expect Garashi to remember his name, and said with excitement, "That's me. Patriarch mentioned you a few days ago. He will be very happy to know that you are here. Why don't I inform him now?" Garashi shook his head slightly. "No need to disturb us, we just want to visit the Bordered Soil clan." Kurikase was a little disappointed, but he didn't continue to persuade. "Then I won't disturb you." When everyone was far away, the clansman who had stopped them before asked in surprise, "Is he the hero who commanded the Western Front and forced the Tsuchikage to stay in the village by himself, Shimizu Shushi?" Kurikase's eyes were full of admiration. "Garashi-sama is not only strong, but also has a good personality. Patriarch said that he is the one who can become Naruto." The Uchiha who stopped them was a little dissatisfied. "Don't say that he is not Naruto. Even if he is Naruto, you shouldn't be so humble. Where is your dignity as an Uchiha? If you were also on the battlefield, you wouldn't say such stupid things. Garashi-sama is the great benefactor who saved many of our clansmen." "Huh? What do you mean?" Kurikase sighed. "Because of unreasonable battle arrangements, many of our clansmen died in the early war, until Garashi-sama came to power." "How dare they? Wake up, this is no longer the Warring States period." For everyone who came to the Bordered Soil clan for the first time, it wasn't difficult to find the Uchiha's house. After walking through several streets, they came to an ordinary house. Dong, dong. "Is anyone home?" "He's here." When they opened the door, Grandma Bordered Soil was surprised. "You are Bordered Soil's friends?" Garashi nodded. "Grandma, you have a good memory." "Hee, how is my memory good? It's just that I don't know many people." As she spoke, Grandma Bordered Soil patted herself. "Look at my silly brain. How could I let the guests stand at the door? Everyone come in." Everyone bowed and said, "Sorry for disturbing you." The room wasn't big, but the layout and decorations gave people a warm feeling. After Grandma Bordered Soil put the tea and snacks on the table, she knelt down and said, "Sorry for the lack of hospitality." No, you're too polite." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Grandma Bordered Soil asked, "Excuse me, why are you here today? Did that child Bordered Soil get into trouble?" Everyone looked at each other and couldn't bear to tell the truth. In the end, Garashi said apologetically, "Sorry, Bordered Soil was unfortunately killed by the enemy on the battlefield to protect his companions." Hearing this, Grandma Bordered Soil's hands trembled slightly as she held the tea. She immediately sighed softly. "So that's how it is." Kakashi's head hit the floor and he said in a hoarse voice, "I'm sorry, Bordered Soil was protecting me. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." "Don't be like this. Bordered Soil is not special. So many people died in the war. It's not surprising that it was Bordered Soil's turn. Seeing her like this, everyone was even more worried. Grandma, don't worry, I won't be sad. On the contrary, I'm proud of Bordered Soil. Grandma Bordered Soil smiled. To be able to die to protect his companions, such a Bordered Soil is already a hero in my heart. Everyone nodded heavily. Bordered Soil is a hero. Grandma Bordered Soil touched Kakashi's head. Child, you don't have to blame yourself too much. Since Bordered Soil saved you, then carry his dream on your shoulders. Kakashi clenched his hands, his nails piercing into his flesh. I understand. I will definitely become Naruto and tell everyone that he made me Naruto. At the same time in Fugaku's home, Fugaku was happily playing with his son. Itachi, what's 1 + 1? Itachi's young face was full of helplessness. My son is so smart. Then 2 + 2, dong, dong. Hearing the knock outside, Fugaku told Itachi to play by himself and got up to open the door. Liang Feng, why are you here? Lord Patriarch, I have something to report to you. Come in first. Yes, then I'll be disturbing you. Returning to the living room, Fugaku saw that Itachi was no longer in the room. Although he was very young, Itachi was indeed a worry-free child. The two knelt down and after a little greeting they got to the point. Lord Patriarch, Garashi-sama and his friend just came. Fugaku was excited. Garashi-sama, why did he come? They went to Bordered Soil's house, Liang Feng said and added, Bordered Soil's name was on the previous casualty list. Is that so? I see. Fugaku nodded slightly. Liang Feng hesitated and asked, should we express our gratitude? Fugaku thought for a moment and said, send compensation to the families of the fallen ninjas, especially those who have only the elderly in their families and have difficulties in life. Liang Feng suddenly understood. I understand. I'll go and prepare. Thank you. When Liang Feng left, Fugaku muttered, Namikaze Minato Shimizu Garashi. At this moment, Itachi's curious voice came from beside him. Father, is that Garashi-sama a very powerful ninja? Why did you deliberately change for him? Yes, he is. Fugaku's body trembled, and he looked at the cat lamp beside him in disbelief. Itachi, what are you doing? I forgot to remove the transformation jutsu. Itachi whispered, and in the next moment he changed back. Fugaku's eyes widened. How did you learn the transformation jutsu? No, who taught you how to refine chakra? Generally, civilian ninjas enter school at the age of 5. Big families like theirs may enter school earlier but not by much. Itachi is now less than 4 years old. Itachi tilted his head. I learned chakra by reading books at home. As for the transformation jutsu, I learned it by watching you seal. When did I use the transformation jutsu at home? Fugaku subconsciously wanted to deny it and then his face turned red. He seemed to have played some fun at home. How did Itachi see it? Wait. Fugaku gathered his thoughts and looked at Itachi in shock. You learned it just by watching me seal? Itachi asked puzzledly, what's wrong? It's amazing. You obviously haven't opened your eyes, but you can do things that most of the people who have opened their eyes can't do. Fugaku was shocked. Not to mention how rare it was to learn the transformation jutsu just by watching him seal, it was amazing enough to see and remember his seal movements. After all, this wasn't the school's teaching, where the movements were deliberately slowed down. He was doing it at his own level. Thinking of this, Fugaku looked at Itachi with strange eyes. My son is a genius? Even a super genius who may be comparable to Garashi-sama? Chapter 236. After recovering from his shock, Fugaku couldn't help but ask, Itachi, what ninjutsu do you know now? Itachi shook his head. I've only seen you use the transformation jutsu. Fugaku sighed in relief. Luckily he didn't play any other games at home. Clearing his throat, Fugaku said seriously, Itachi, remember my movements and see if you can learn this jutsu. Itachi nodded. I'll do my best. Fugaku didn't deliberately slow down his movements, he still used his Jonin's speed to form the seals. The next moment, a clone appeared beside him. Fugaku turned around. Itachi, learn? Before he could finish, he saw Itachi form a few more seals, and a clone with a high degree of completion appeared. I learned it. Fugaku, Sigma, degree. When Mikoto returned home, she saw her husband sitting in a corner with a dull expression. Fugaku, what's wrong? Mikoto, do you think I'm a mediocre person with ordinary talent? Although she didn't understand what happened to Fugaku, Mikoto still smiled. How could that be? You've been a genius in everyone's eyes ever since you were a student. After a pause, Mikoto added, of course, the premise is that you can't be compared to a monster like Garashi-sama. Ah, I'm not looking for trouble. Fugaku laughed then sighed, it's because of Itachi. Today I discovered that our son might be an unimaginable genius. Mikoto smiled, of course our son is a genius. Seeing that Mikoto didn't take his words to heart, Fugaku said seriously, he's not a genius in the ordinary sense. Let's put it this way, Itachi was able to learn Hiroshi's fireball jutsu in one glance. Itachi is really... Mikoto suddenly reacted, you taught him how to refine chakra? Fugaku shook his head, then told her everything he saw today. Mikoto frowned, not happy but worried, having such an outstanding talent at Itachi's age it's not a good thing. As a mother, she actually hoped that her child would be more ordinary. Being a genius in the eyes of ordinary people is enough. Fugaku said seriously, you and I think the same. Without a strong heart, outstanding talent will only harm him. Mikoto crossed her arms in front of her chest. Fugaku, what do you think? After pondering for a moment, Fugaku said, I want to bring him to the battlefield. Mikoto was shocked. What? Don't worry, the Western Front has stopped fighting. Except for a small number of people who can't see the situation clearly, no one wants to start a war. Under such circumstances, at most, some small-scale conflicts would break out. Mikoto's expression eased a little, but she was still worried. Isn't it too early for Itachi to enter the battlefield? Fugaku shook his head gently. During the war, there are many children who went to the battlefield at the age of 6 or 7. Itachi is the man who will carry the Uchiha clan on his back in the future, so growing up early is not a bad thing for him. Seeing that Mikoto was still worried, Fugaku sighed. Then let's wait until Itachi's 4th birthday, then we can go to the battlefield together. In the courtyard, Itachi tilted his head and asked, War? What's that? Bordered soil house. After talking about bordered soil, everyone didn't stay idle. Some of them chatted with bordered soil's grandmother, and some of them cleaned the room. After dinner, everyone said their goodbyes. Thank you for your hospitality, we should also go. Be careful on the road and be sure to come again when you have time. Watching everyone leave, bordered soil's grandmother sighed softly. Bordered soil, you've made a very good friend. Everyone who left was also very emotional. Bordered soil's grandmother is really cheerful and optimistic. I'm beginning to understand why bordered soil can be so optimistic. Let's visit the grandmother a few times a month. I think it's okay. Now that the Western Front has stopped fighting, Yunin and Kirin won't be able to hold on much longer. Right, Garashi, what do you think? Everyone was a little curious. After coming out of bordered soil's house, Garashi had a thoughtful look. Of course. Garashi first expressed his opinion, then immediately frowned and looked at Kakashi. Have you met any strange people recently? After coming out of bordered soil's house, Kakashi also felt lost. After being asked several times he responded, strange people, no. Wait, there is one, maybe you know him. Guy was puzzled. Someone we know. Then why is he strange? Mizuki said coldly, is he a defector? If he's a defector, it's normal to be called a strange person. Kakashi glanced at him, nodded and said, he's a senior from the same generation as Sanin, Bei-Lu-Hu. Bei-Lu-Hu. Asma said, he seems to have defected at the beginning of the war, but the reason for his defection was not announced. Many people said that he defected because he was afraid of the war. Kurenai was puzzled. Why would such a person suddenly find Kakashi? It's a bit strange. Ah, could it be that the coward wants to go back to the village because the war is almost over? Guy laughed loudly. Coward? His courage is not small. Garashi shook his head slightly, and his right index finger lightly touched Kakashi's forehead, and then a bright red circular mark appeared where he touched. Seeing this unforeseen event, everyone was stunned. What is this? Kakashi touched his forehead. Is there something here? It's a puppet jutsu. After activating it, it can make the person affected by this jutsu be controlled like a puppet. Garashi's face was solemn. If I'm not wrong, it should be left by Bei-Lu-Hu. Rin said nervously, why is it like this? Kakashi has no relationship with him. Garashi pondered for a moment, then looked at Kakashi and asked, when did you meet him? Kakashi recalled, a few days ago when this happened I retired from the battlefield to recuperate. Rin was dissatisfied, why didn't you tell me this kind of thing? Kakashi shook his head slightly, I thought it was a coincidence. Garashi guessed, It seems that it may be because of the Sharingan. Kakashi murmured, Sharingan? Rin asked puzzledly, but why Kakashi? The Uchiha clan obviously has more Sharingan, right? Unlike the Hyuga clan's Byakugan, the Uchiha clan's Sharingan has a strong rejection. Some people have tried to steal the power of the Sharingan, but all of them failed without exception. Garashi looked at Kakashi and said meaningfully, although your Sharingan seems to have a defect that can't be actively closed, compared with other cases, it can be said to be a perfect fit. This is the first time that a Sharingan has appeared in an outsider's body. Asuma looked at Kakashi suspiciously, is there an Uchiha clan member in your immediate family? Kakashi said concisely, I have read the family tree and there is no such person. I heard from Fugaka-senpai that the Sharingan is an eye that reflects the soul. If the Sharingan is taken by the enemy on the battlefield, it will contain strong hatred and make the transplanted person lose control. Garashi sighed faintly, the reason why you are not affected too much is mostly because Bordered Soil's strong desire to help you affected his Sharingan. Kakashi's body trembled, he gently pressed his left eye and said to himself, Bordered Soil, is this the gift you gave me? Chapter 237. Touching his left eye, Kakashi said solemnly, this is a gift from the Bordered Soil, I will never let it be taken away by those inexplicable people. Hearing what he said, everyone was filled with righteous indignation. This is the only relic left by the Bordered Soil, who dares to have ideas about it, we absolutely can't let it go. Yes, we absolutely can't spare this bastard. A traitor actually dares to have thoughts about us. Just find something to do before returning to the eastern battlefield. After the Bordered Soil incident, everyone was depressed and had nowhere to release their anger. But Hiriko bumped into them at this time and became a tool for them to vent their anger. Seeing that everyone was so concerned about his own affairs, after the Bordered Soil death, Kakashi's gradually frozen heart showed signs of thawing. However, he has always been silent and couldn't say anything touching, he simply said, thank you. Fortunately, everyone knew his character and didn't care, soon they began to discuss seriously. The problem now is how to find Hiriko. The ninja world is so big, it's not easy to find a person. It's really troublesome, I heard that in the early days of the war Jiraiya-sama also went to catch him but in the end he escaped. Ru, can you lend the ninja dogs of your Inazuka clan? Inazuka Ru hesitated, if Garashi comes forward the clan leader should agree to lend a few, but I can't guarantee the number. Kakashi, who had been silent, suddenly said, I have ninja dogs, is 8 enough? Inazuka Ru looked at him in surprise, how do you have? I understand you contracted a canine summoning beast? Kakashi nodded silently. Lin was puzzled, when did you contract it? How come even I don't know? Kakashi was silent for a moment. The day I went with Minato-sensei to find the body of the Bordered Soil, after returning I contracted a ninja dog, I wanted to use their sense of smell to find the Bordered Soil, but unfortunately I failed in the end. Hearing this, everyone was secretly regretful. To ordinary people, it was already very rare to be able to contract a spiritual beast. They naturally wouldn't be picky. But Kakashi himself was a genius beyond the limits of ordinary people, and Sensei also contracted the Mount Myaboku lineage. In this case, it was a pity to choose the relatively weak ninja dog lineage to contract. Shushi, on the other hand, had a strange expression on his face. Was this when Kakashi started carving dog heads on the wall? As the price of the contract to make the ninja dog clan famous? Using ninjutsu to advertise? After all, he had fought with Kakashi many times, but Kakashi's earth wall had always been empty just like most people. There shouldn't be a problem with the quantity. Inazuka thought for a while. However, it's been so many days there's probably no trace of Hiriko there. Kakashi's expression remained unchanged. I know, but no matter what, let's try it first. That's right. Inazuka nodded in agreement. I'll go with you. It's too dangerous for you to go alone, Garashi said. It's just tracking the scent, no need. I'll go with Kakashi. A gentle and apologetic voice came from behind everyone. Everyone turned around and Kakashi and Rin were surprised. Minato-sensei, why did you come back? After the formal peace talks on the Western Front, the pressure on our side has been reduced a lot. Minato sighed. Besides, this kind of thing happened, I have to apologize to the elders. Rin blinked. Are you going behind us? Minato smiled. Not yet. When I passed by and heard your conversation I couldn't help but stop. With that, Minato looked at Kakashi apologetically. I'm sorry, I'm too irresponsible as a teacher. If Garashi hadn't mentioned it, I might not have noticed the problem with you until now. Kakashi shook his head. It's not your fault. I didn't say it out loud. It's a teacher's duty to care about students. Minato blamed himself. Let me accompany you as a teacher's self-punishment. Seeing Minato-sensei say this, Kakashi had no choice but to agree. Then I'll have to trouble you. Garashi, you haven't returned to the village for a long time. Have a good rest for a few days. As for that Hiriko, Minato, who had always been gentle and indifferent, showed a rare trace of killing intent. Daring to do such a thing to my student, I can't let him go. Garashi said in a deep voice. If you want to deal with him, count me in. A traitor who betrayed the village and even attacked a ninja of the same village must be punished. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but silently mourn for Hiriko. Being targeted by Minato-sensei and Garashi-sama is a treatment only a Kage of the village can have. The third day, early morning. Ichiraka Noodle Shop. Really, I don't know what to do after coming back from the battlefield. Asma complained while lying on the table. If this goes on, the old man will definitely drag me to a blind date again. Do you want to have a youth race with me? Seeing Asma so depressed, Guy excitedly invited him. The corner of Asma's eyes twitched. Absolutely not. Guy was still trying to persuade him. How about walking around the village on a handstand or jumping 500 laps or even doing 10,000 push-ups? But before he could finish his words, he was pulled aside by Kurenai, who came in from behind. Kurenai confidently sat down beside Garashi and said, Uncle, give me a bowl of miso barbecued pork noodles, medium bowl, not too soft. Guy felt wronged. I was the one who came first. Asma laughed loudly. You were the one who was too much of an eyesore. Seeing Asma being pulled aside by Mute, Guy couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. Asma, you know your place. Ha ha ha. At this moment, cheerful laughter came from the door. Hey. Hello, senpais. Everyone turned around and saw Mizuki, who almost couldn't maintain his indifferent expression, being pushed in by a girl. Enko, what are you doing? Haha, I saw senior brother Mizuki on the way, so I followed him here. Everyone had a strange look in their eyes. How were you following Mizuki? You were obviously the one who brought Mizuki here. But soon, Asma felt that something was wrong. Wait, you called senior brother Mizuki? Anko laughed with her hands on her hips. Because I also became Orochimaru's disciple. Kurenai couldn't help but blush with shame. Your lively personality really doesn't match Master Orochimaru's disciple. Really? I think it's quite good. Anko elbowed Mizuki's chest. Senior brother Mizuki is the one who's wrong. He's as cold as ice. Saying that, she sighed in disappointment. If this goes on, no girl will like him. Mizuki reluctantly squeezed out an ugly smile. I don't need. Before he finished speaking, he saw Anko's frightened face. Senior brother Mizuki, do you like men? If that's the case, look at Senior Garashi's eyes, there seems to be something wrong. Chapter 238. Hearing Red Bean's exclamation, Red and Mute instantly became alert. Now that Shueimu mentioned it, the way he looked at Shueisha was different from other people. Not only Asma and Guy, but even an Exion's boss also quietly pricked up his ears. Anko's frightened eyes were filled with excitement. Senior brother Shueimu, don't tell me that you fell in love with Senior Shueisha because he saved you in the past? It's the same for me. It's because Senior Shushi saved my life. Shueimu said with a dark face, I mean, I don't need to find someone to like me. If this idiot didn't maintain the connection between them and the school, and if he still intended to use Red Bean to recruit people into the school, he would have warned him a long time ago. I see. Red Bean was a little disappointed at first, but then she started gossiping. Who is it? Who is blind? Who has such good taste? Shueimu was so angry that he almost suffered internal injuries. He gritted his teeth and said, You don't have to worry about that. Look behind you. What? Red Bean turned around and saw Red and Mute looking at her faintly. You said, also, just now, right? You can't pretend you didn't hear that. Is that strange? It's strange that she doesn't like someone as outstanding as Senior Garashi. Red Bean shouted righteously, Senior Garashi is Woodleaf's precious property. How can I let you two monopolize him? Today I'm going to break this unreasonable monopoly. Asma and the others watched this scene with great interest. Was this the legendary Shiraba? Fight, fight. Shueimu looked at them from the corner of his eyes. For you guys who don't like girls, What's there to be happy about? They were instantly petrified. Yes, what was there to be excited about seeing this scene? Okay, stop fooling around. Garashi coughed and looked at Red Bean helplessly. You just want to find someone who can use illusion on you and create an illusion of sweet food that won't make you fat, right? Red Bean put her hands behind her back. No, I'm serious. Take my illusion. In the next moment, Red Bean sank into it with a satisfied expression. Hee hee, red bean soup, mung bean soup. Seeing this, Mute and Red laughed disdainfully. This little girl was no threat at all. After calming down, Red sighed again. Speaking of which, it seems that we haven't been back to school for a few years, right? Jianghu nodded. In the blink of an eye, 3 to 4 years have passed. I wonder how Teacher Yagami and the rest are doing? Why don't we go back to the school and take a look? Jianghu was a little moved. Wouldn't that be too much of a bother? Asma, who had been squatting in the corner and drawing circles, stood up and said excitedly, Why would I bother you? Let's let Yagami use us as an example and say that he is teaching the worst batch. Now that they had made a name for themselves on the battlefield, how could they miss out on the opportunity to return Jean to their school? He was looking forward to seeing the admiration in the eyes of his juniors. Everyone smiled knowingly as they recalled what Yagami-sensei had said before. Then, shall we go back to school after breakfast? Do you want to find someone to take us in? After all, we may be more conspicuous in the school. There are already people here. Mizuki pointed at Anko, who was still immersed in the illusion, with disgust. Although this girl looks very embarrassing, she is the big sister of those brats in the school. Outside the ninja school. Anko licked the corner of her mouth. Garashi-sensei's taste is so delicious. Mute and Red's eyes twitched. Don't say things that will cause misunderstandings. In order to prevent her from saying something unpleasant, Mute quickly changed the topic. Why are there so few people in the school today? Is everyone on holiday? Today is the school festival, of course everyone is going to the back of the mountain. Anko's little face was full of pain. It is obviously a celebration created by the seniors, but you even forgot about it. School festival. It's been so long. Guy reminisced. I still remember the scene when Kakashi was killed by Sensei's genjutsu. Killed by genjutsu? That's great. Anko licked the corner of her mouth and said with longing. Everyone was speechless. This child was bewitched. Garashi also had a lot of feelings. I don't know how Shunyen is now. He has such a good relationship with bordered soil. If he knows about the bordered soil incident, he must be very sad. Asma said sadly. The scene of gathering together in the past can never be returned. Everyone was silent. This war had changed too much. Many of the faces that were once familiar would never be seen again. Seeing the atmosphere was a bit dull, Anko quickly changed the topic. Seniors, do you want to participate in the school festival? Let me, the president, show you old people the new atmosphere of the club. Asma was puzzled. What president? Anko laughed with her hands on her hips. Of course, the president of the psychology club. I have received the precious legacy of the seniors. Garashi hit her with a karate chop. Speak properly. What is a legacy? Anko covered her head and said with tears in her eyes, Don't hit my head. I am the second generation of the psychology club. Where is my dignity? Jingyin covered her mouth and snickered. So Garashi is already a first-generation leader. Although he resisted in his heart in order to recommend Garashi to Quality Leak, Shuei-mu still asked, Psychology club, or school, are there any powerful geniuses in recent years? Of course it's me, Mitarashi Anko. Anko laughed cheerfully. As the second-generation leader and the disciple of Orochimaru-sama, am I not powerful? Powerful. Shuei-mu's mouth twitched. He then asked, What about the geniuses other than you? Let me think. Anko counted with her fingers and said, There is Kamiyu Izumo, Steel Child, Hei, Gale, Irika Kaya, and Yugao. Although they can't be compared with the seniors, they are considered powerful geniuses in our batch. Mizuki nodded and secretly remembered the names of these people, intending to find an opportunity to recommend Konoha's Hikari to them. However, there is a very powerful kid among the newcomers last year. Anko said with her arms crossed. Asma couldn't help but tease, How powerful? Is he more powerful than you? Anko hummed and didn't deny it. I may not be as powerful as him when I was 6 years old, but it's different now. With the guidance of Orochimaru-sama, I will be much more powerful than him in the future. Hearing her say this, everyone was a little surprised. To be able to make Anko admit that she was inferior to him at the same time, that newcomer was something. Asma asked, "What is the newcomer's name?" Anko curled her lips. "Isn't he an annoying kid from the Uchiha?" Uchiha Shursui. That you're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.